Our story opens in a dazzling skyscraper, towering like Landmark 881. Inside, a grand press conference is underway. A reporter begins her introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bayan, the young CEO of Deedlomrate, an influential name in the world of business. His empire, spanning gaming, tech, food, lifestyle, and even transportation, is worth hundreds of billions. His reach touches millions of lives. You'd assume someone at the helm of such a vast enterprise must be ruthless, cold, and calculating. But in a recent interview, Bayan shattered all stereotypes. Nicknamed the best boss ever, he's a beloved figure, seen as a visionary investor, a gaming prodigy, a brilliant manager, and a man with a keen eye for the future. Facing the camera, Bayan wiped away tears. "I don't have any special talent for business," he admitted. "Honestly, everything I've achieved, it's just luck. My only goal at the start was to lose $50,000. The reporter smiled, clearly touched. Such humility from a business genius. I'm at a loss for words. And with that, we're taken back, way back, to 2009 at Handong University in Jingsu. "City! Bayan! Wake up! You're late for class!" a voice called. Startled, Bayan opened his eyes. This wasn't the luxury suite he remembered. This was a student dorm. Standing by the door was his friend Manhwa, smirking mischievously. "Deputy Dean's lecture today. You'll get in trouble if you're late," he said, dashing off. Bayan blinked. "What?" he mumbled, still groggy. "Isn't this my dorm?" Then it hit him. This isn't my apartment. It's the university dorm. Wait, the year, it's 2009? He leapt up, shocked. Had he really gone back 10 years? Grabbing his cheek, he pinched hard. The Yayashibi pain confirmed it. It was real. Just as he was about to lose it, something appeared before his eyes. A translucent screen. Lines of glowing text scrolled rapidly. Wealth transfer system initializing. Binding to host. Successful. Staring in disbelief, Bayan read on. Host. Bayan system funds. 50,000 personal assets. 443 system rules. Funds can only be used for business-related expenses. No personal spending allowed. Losses and profits are calculated. After each settlement cycle, profits convert to personal assets at a 100.1 ratio. Losses convert at a 1.1 ratio. Bayan burst out laughing. Of course. What's a time travel story without a system? The logic was now clear. Losing system funds, personal gain. If he blew all $50,000, it would convert dollar for dollar into his personal wealth. That meant the worse his business did, the richer he became. "Brilliant," he said with a grin. "This system is top tier. But the money from the system, though real, wasn't his to use freely unless he lost it in business. The plan was simple. Use it to fail fast and hard. With renewed confidence, Bayan struck a dramatic pose. "I'm going to make a fortune by throwing money into the void." Then another prompt appeared. Final step. "Please name your company." He paused. Let's call it Dang Dod Technology Network Limited Liability Company." The name itself sounded lofty, but to Bayan, it symbolized a hopeful crash and burn. He completed the registration and reviewed the final terms. The next settlement would occur in 14 days. If no product launched by then, the clock would reset. "All right," he thought, rubbing his chin. "If I want to make real money, I've got to tank this company fast. I'll turn 440 thrars into $50, 440 thrars, easy." With that, he summoned his imaginary team for a private strategy session. The goal? Plan the worst business moves possible. He stood at the head of the imaginary table. "Welcome to the first official money-losing strategy conference. Suggestions?" A bespectacled figure raised his hand. "Let's be careful. The system outlined over 200 strict laws. Breaking them results in serious penalties. So, no scams, fraud, or anything illegal." Bayan nodded. "Right. Can't cheat. The system. But this world's still 10 years behind in tech and copyright laws are super loose. Another version of Bayan, lounging with a gaming console, spoke up. We could build a game. Game development burns a ton of money, and most fail. But then the practical Bayan frowned. True, but once a gaming company collapses, there's nothing left. Fixed asset businesses can at least sell equipment. Plus, I've got memories from the future. I know which games will win. I should avoid those. Everyone in his mental boardroom agreed. Let's go with game development, Bayan grinned. Perfect. Step 1, make a game. Step 2, burn through every cent. Step 3, cash out and party like there's no tomorrow. With a cackle, he declared, let's stick to the plan and just go completely off the rails. With all these thoughts swimming in his head, Bayan felt like he was walking on air. He imagined his future, a dream life filled with luxury, laughter, and lazy days. Making money while goofing off, throwing parties, and enjoying life's finer pleasures. In his fantasy, he would quickly rise to fame as a legendary tycoon in the gaming world. Fueled by that vision, Bayan got to work that very same day. But after just a few hours at the computer, frustration hit him like a wall. Designing a game from scratch? Way harder than expected. Fortunately, there was a site backed by EXO where he could buy assets and use their official tools to build his game. Once done, the site would review it, and if it passed, it could be published. All it took was $50,000. So, he dove in. First, he picked the driving model base version for $20,000, which included a slick VIP-looking interior. Then came the Desert Expressway map, another $23,000. Pricey, but it had the aesthetic he wanted. Sound effects? $6,000. Finally, he dropped the last $11,000 on a feature to track player rankings. Perfect. Budget. Fully spent. Yet something still felt off. I know, he thought. Let's make the difficulty unbearable, like eating level 7 spicy noodles while getting nagged by your parents. So he added a punishing mechanic. Players had to drive 8 grueling hours just to clear one level. Eventually, they'd get rescued from their addiction mid-game. Ha! Genius move, he smirked. 2 hours later, Bayan leaned back, satisfied. This should be good enough to pass, he said, giving his creation one last look before testing it out. The moment the game loaded, reality hit him hard. It was hideous. Worse than a toddler's finger painting. His jaw dropped. What the hell is this? He groaned. Even I can't look at it, let alone play it for 8 hours. He shook his head in disbelief. If someone actually enjoys this, I'll call them my master. No hate reviews? That's the real surprise. With a sigh, he muttered, if I make any money from this, I'll start clapping for myself. Later that evening, back at the dorm, the room was loud with yelling and chaos. As all 4 roommates played a team game together, voices rang out. Someone cursed at a teammate named Dian Jihwa. Can't you stop soloing and play with the team? Idiot keeps running off and getting himself killed. Among them, a player named Mayang turned to Bayan and asked, You're really skipping school for this? Bayan replied while still in the middle of the match. Come on, Mayang, every time we group up, you're never around. The rest of our team gets wiped on the side of the road. Do you even know how to play as a team? We're 3 against 1 and still not making progress. I racked up 11 kills, 2 assists, and we still lost. It's maddening. Mayang fired back. Stop acting like you're the only one who matters. Bayan froze, baffled by what he'd just heard. You got 2 kills, died 3 times, assisted 2, and you think that gives you the right to talk? You're a total liability, and you're talking trash. Unbothered, Mayang slurped up the rest of his noodles and calmly said, I really tried my best. Mayang was serious and hard-working, but his gaming skills were just average. He wasn't tall, and in fact, he was very short. Despite his limitations, he kept trying. Meanwhile, the group queued for another round. Tonight, we're pushing from bronze to silver, someone shouted. Bayan watched their poor performance and decided to sit this one out. I'm getting sleepy, he mumbled, flopping onto his bed with a satisfied sigh. Pulling out his phone, he thought, So what if I lose in the game? Big deal. Then a notification lit up the screen. His $50,000 had arrived at last. Excitement surged through him like fireworks. All he could think about now was diving into the world of elite gaming, flashy equipment, next-gen gear, custom setups. His imagination soared. Cut to a cramped rented room across town. A man named Guan Yu sat at his desk, scowling at his screen. He was known for making viral reviews of bizarre, low-quality games under the alias KC. Lately, though, things weren't going well. His latest batch of trash game videos flopped. Views were down, clicks were scarce. No ads meant no income, and no income meant no dates. Just as boredom threatened to crush him, he stumbled across a game titled Desert Lurin Expressway, made by none other than our friend, Buy-In, priced at just $1. What is this nonsense? Ganyu muttered. The description read, a simulated driving journey through the desert that makes you contemplate the meaning of life. Weird, creepy. Exactly the kind of thing that might just go viral. Well, he said with a grin, let's see how a $1 game can mess with someone's mind. Putting his thoughts into action, the chubby guy launched the game right away. The desert map looked like it was thrown together in 5 minutes. The graphics were a mess, and the controls were stiff and clunky. The sound design? Creepy at best. But for someone who's been through the trenches of terrible indie games, this was nothing new. Just another bizarre experience in a sea of digital garbage. Still, something was off. He drove for what felt like forever with nothing changing. What's going on? Why is nothing happening? He muttered. 10 more minutes passed. Still no twists, no challenges, just endless road. Who even am I? What's the point of this game? He questioned aloud, the existential dread creeping in. Aside from turning the wheel through the occasional bend, there was nothing. No goal, no excitement. Then it hit him. This was exactly like his own life. Just coasting along, no highs, no lows. Just existing. He kept driving, lost in thought, until suddenly a voice broke the trance. Hold on, I'm gonna make some instant noodles. Keep playing when I'm back. Confused, he tried to pause the game, but it wouldn't let him. His focus slipped, and the next thing he knew, he'd crashed into a rock wall. His eyes widened in shock. Wait, you're telling me I have to start over? I just drove for half an hour. Furious, he gritted his teeth. All right, fine. I've found this game's flaw. As soon as I eat, I'm making an expose video. The next morning, Buy-In watched that expose. The video laid it all out. An 8-hour drive, requiring full attention the whole way because a curve pops up every few minutes. And if you miss even one, it's back to the start. The cherry on top? The game ends with a simple line. Congratulations, you've just wasted 8 hours of your life. The chubby gamer's conclusion. This game made me think about my entire existence. I can't believe it, but it's genius. And the comments? Endless. People were obsessed. Didn't skip a second. Now I'm questioning my purpose. Another wrote, just bought it. I need to find meaning in the desert. Someone else posted, spend $1 to question your entire life. Sounds fair. One person even declared, if you don't buy this, are you even human? Buy-In clutched his head in disbelief. What is going on? Why is everyone loving this thing instead of roasting it like all those other terrible games? Bewildered, he started typing furiously, trying to do damage control. I made this game to be deliberately bad. Don't buy it. It's a trap. 1. Viewer shot back. Don't insult our intelligence. I love this game. Buy-In nearly cried. Am I the crazy one? Or is it the whole world that's lost it? Somehow his broken-down game had become a viral sensation, praised as philosophical art. As he sat reeling, the system chimed in with the sales summary, profit-sharing info, player stats, and totals. Owner, Buy-In height, 178 centimeters weight, 85 key gauge. 19 Zodiac, Scorpio Company's current capital, 1,463 total revenue, 75,400 personal earnings, 754 available funds. 97 buy-in stared at the screen, ready to cough up blood. His original $50,000 investment had completely vanished, and for all the game's success, he barely made $700. Instantly, he called for an emergency strategy meeting in his own mind. This is ridiculous. How did that nonsense game earn over $200K, and we only got a few crumbs? Wearing glasses now for extra seriousness, one version of buy-in said, well, now that we've seen the numbers, the question is, how do we spend the remaining company funds before the next settlement? Another sipped his coffee and calmly replied, no point crying over spilled cash. What we need is a smart plan to drain the system's capital quickly. One buy-in slammed the table. Let's hire someone incompetent. We pay them a full salary and they'll burn through our resources in no time. But who? Another asked. A sly grin formed. Isn't it obvious? We've got someone perfect right under our noses. Mei Yang, they all chimed in. Exactly. He's got a talent for failing upward. Even his dumbbell project for gym class didn't hurt anyone. He's harmless and hopeless. Just what we need. As if summoned by name, Ma Yang popped his head in. Hey, I brought some food for you guys. Bayan's eyes lit up. He took the food gratefully and beamed. Thank you, Ma Yang. With you by our side, everything is possible. You're my last hope. Ma Yang stood there frozen, unsure if Bian had just praised him or gone completely mad from hunger. Eventually, the two brothers made their way to a nearby pub, eager to relax with a drink and some conversation. Mayan tore into his meal like a wild animal, using both hands, fully focused on the food in front of him. Meanwhile, Bayon sat silently, deep in thought. I've got $300,000 in capital now. Hiring someone shouldn't be a problem, right? As he mulled it over, Mayan glanced up, suspicious. Why the sudden treat? Did you hit the jackpot or something? Bayon, mildly annoyed, rested his head on one hand like a bored snake. Yeah, I made a little money, he muttered casually. Quietly, he opened up the system panel. $174,500 had just been added to his capital, bringing it back up to the stable $300,000. His personal balance, though? Still stuck at a measly $97,000. Unbothered by any of this, Mayan kept devouring grilled chicken wings. Man, these wings are the best. Always come here for them. Across the table, Bayon held a Coke, but his mind was elsewhere. His heart ached. My poor mom worked herself to the bone, and in the end, all she had was $900 to her name. He composed himself and started thinking more strategically. So the system tops my capital up to $300,000 after every settlement? The next one's in a month. This time, I've got to find a way to burn through it all. While he was lost in his plans, Mayan looked at him curiously. What's with you? You're barely eating. Bayon replied, I've been working on a game project, but I need help. Are you interested? Mayan almost dropped his chicken in shock. A game? That costs a fortune. How are you even planning to afford that? Putting on an air of confidence, Bayon leaned in. All right, I'll be honest. I'm from a wealthy family. They just gave me $300,000. That should cover it, right? Mayan's face went pale. Wait, what? That much money? Bayon smirked internally. Hook, line, and sinker. Kids are so easy to fool. Still stunned, Mayan asked, Okay, but do you know anything about art? Programming? Not at all, Bayon replied coolly. But who cares? I can buy assets online and hire actual professionals. Problem solved. But we don't know anything about game design, Mayan argued. What if we blow all $300,000 and it crashes and burns? That's on you. Bayon clenched his fists. Under the table, gritting his teeth. Ugh, this guy's conscience is seriously in my way. No choice, I'll have to bluff him hard. He leaned back smugly. Ever heard of the game Desert Lurin Expressway? That ridiculous hit everyone's talking about? Mayan blinked. Yeah, what about it? I made it, Bayan said, sipping his Coke like it was no big deal. Mayan spit out his drink in disbelief. You made that dumb game? I had no idea you were actually talented. Okay, fine, I'm in. I'll take the risk with you. Bayan blinked. Wait, what just happened? Mayan stood up, fired up. I may not be great at anything, but I'm reliable. I'll help however I can. I'm off to the bookstore to get some game design books. You're not doing this alone. And off he sprinted like a man on a mission, leaving Bayan confused. What is he doing? Books. Isn't this overkill? Does he actually have potential? Could he be a valuable asset? A few hours later, Mayan returned, carrying a literal bookshelf's worth of books, a wicked grin on his face. Hey, Bayan. I'm back, he shouted proudly. Bayan stood frozen for a solid minute. What the? Why do you have so many books? Mayan slammed them down on the table. They were on discount, so I bought dozens. Bayan rifled through the stack, his eyes wide. He even bought books about neck pain, baldness prevention, all kinds of nonsense. He's not even coding yet, and he's worried about going bald. Incredible. Well, he thought, I might have picked the wrong person. But no, he's exactly who I need. That's great, Mayan said with a grin. Let's start reading. I'll start with this Advanced General Programming one. He opened the book and stared. I recognize every word, but I have no idea what they mean when they're put together. Bayan sighed. He's not entirely wrong. Saying these books are useless would be harsh, but saying they help would be a lie. Hey, Mayan, he said, trying to keep his cool. We're designing a game, not programming it ourselves. These books are probably outdated anyway. Mayan's face flushed red. What? That's why they were discounted? Can't even return them now. Bayan chuckled. No worries, skim through them. We'll write them off as a business expense. At that, Mayan's mood flipped completely. We're getting reimbursed? Sweet, I'll start reading right now. He plopped onto the bed and cracked open a book with enthusiasm. Only to roll over and fall asleep 5 minutes later, snoring like a pig. Bayan watched in disbelief, then slammed his hand on the table, tears welling up. Unbelievable. He's got the heart of a lion and the brain of a goldfish. But this is the kind of employee I need. Loyal, passionate, and completely unpredictable. If only I knew more people like Mayan. Then again, if I did, I'd probably go broke within the week. He sighed. All right, time to move on. I've still got $300,000 to spend and a lot of items to identify. Sometime later, Bayan stood grinning, a stack of colorful cards in his hands. My gang looked at him in confusion. Huh? Are you trying to challenge us to a card game or something? One of them asked. Beaming, Bayan nodded. Exactly. We're going to make a Sango-themed card game. I've already bought a base model from the resource library, he added proudly. Wearing a yellow shirt, Mayang hopped down from the bed and looked at him skeptically. Bayan, are you seriously thinking of copying a game like Battle Sango? I heard tons of people are making card games right now. Plus, Sango is everywhere. You check the top 10 games and at least half have Sango in the title. Bayan couldn't help but smirk. That's exactly why I'm doing it, he thought. If card games are in demand, then I'm diving right in. If Sango is trending, I'll ride the wave. The more crowded the space, the more likely my version will stand out. Feeling energized by this mindset, he instantly called for a meeting in his imagination. Who wants to speak first? He asked mentally. Baikan, pushing his glasses up in a serious manner, raised his hand. Let's talk payment strategy. Sango has tighter monetization mechanics than most other card games. That's part of why it exploded in popularity. Another Baikan, this one with a coffee cup in hand, chimed in. So let's price our game at $10. Just the base game, nothing else special. They'll definitely complain, someone said. Exactly. Let them. Let's go totally against the grain. No recharge options, no pay to win. Even whales won't have anything to spend on. The imaginary team around the table burst into excited chatter. Right, keep it at 10. Even better, after they buy it, the only thing in the store is a $30 permanent membership card. With such low options, even if they want to spend more, they can't. The 5 Baikans pictured themselves gathered at a round table, giddy and smug, imagining the chaos to come. Players everywhere were already ranting in their heads. What the hell? I can't buy anything in this stupid game. This game is trash. My $10 wasted. I want a refund. Back in reality, Mayang broke into a nervous sweat and stammered. Wait, what kind of characters are we even putting in? Is Bayan serious? I only know a few Sango characters from the movies. I haven't done a full deep dive. Before he could finish, Bayan slapped him on the shoulder cheerfully. No problem. I believe in you. Our Sango characters have to feel totally unique, fresh, and even ridiculous if need be, Bayan added. Mayang sighed, defeated. All right. I'll give it a shot. Bayan stroked his chin thoughtfully. I know you've got it in you. You don't have to get everything perfect. Just sketch a direction. Remember, the more bizarre and outlandish, the better. Mayang, meanwhile, was in full creative meltdown, holding his head. Crap, I've got nothing. Then suddenly, he blurted out, Hey Baikan, can I turn Kuan Yu into a dragon? Approved, Baikan said immediately. After a moment, Mayang added, Can I turn Maya into a horse? And Zay into a dragon princess? What about Lamb? Can he be like a llama? Every time, Baikan simply nodded. Inside, Bayan was silently shaking his head. This kid is wild, but I'm not regretting choosing him. Kuan Yu as a dragon princess. Lamb turned into a llama. It's gross. It's absurd. It's perfect. If the current Ban Go games are all using cutesy, chibi designs and people are eating it up, then I'll go in the opposite direction. A realistic art style. The kind that makes people uncomfortable. There's this artist, Ruan Wangjian. His previous works lean heavily on the chibi side, so he's probably not experienced in realism. Even better, perfect. A totally chaotic plan. Hire a chibi artist to do realism, make the designs intentionally weird, toss in some minor gameplay tweaks, charge $10 for the base game and $30 for a membership. Let the Sango fans rage, a game. Like this, if someone actually manages to enjoy it, they deserve a standing ovation. A few days later, inside the cafeteria at Donggan University, Bayan is engrossed in reading a report while Mayang sits nearby, poking half-heartedly at her lunch. Bayan silently praises the report in his mind. Brilliant. So clean and sharp. It barely feels like writing. Just one word. Nice. With a sudden burst of cheer, he blurts out, Man, this guy is rock solid. I don't think I could have come up with anything better myself. Then, pointing out the originality, he adds, Aside from the names and a few traits, this is nothing. Like the 3 Sandal characters. It's on another level. The guy in the yellow shirt looks up, genuinely impressed. Whoa, that's awesome. Inspired by the praise, Bayan throws out a bold idea. What if we make all the Sandal generals female? That would be insane! Instantly, Mayang slams the brakes on that idea. No way! She stares at him, confused. Why not? You're the one who said you wanted a fresh take. Bayan frowns, his voice turning serious. Doing that would kill the uniqueness of their characters. But deep down, he's also thinking, and if this actually becomes popular, I might miss my shot. Trying to smooth things over, he grins and says, Your version's already great. Mel as a centaur, Guan Yu as a dragon. It's more memorable. This way. The yellow-shirted guy nods. Ah, I see. That makes sense. Got it. Bayan, feeling good, beams. All right, once we're back in the room, transfer all this to the computer. I'll coordinate with the artist. Internally, he smirks. Lucky for me, Mayang is easy to nudge in the right direction. That same afternoon, over at the dormitory of the Fine Arts Department at M Financial Economics University, 3 art students are gathered. These are the artists Bian contacted. The one with long hair is Ruan Guangjian, a fine arts major. His 2 friends hover behind him, clearly worried. One whispers, "So, what's the deal? Is it happening?" Guangjian shoos them back with a wave. "Back off. I'm talking business here. Whether we feast or starve the next few months depends on this." With the mood set, the negotiation begins. Guangjian starts, "How many pieces do you need? Any specific requests?" Bian responds confidently, "No chibi style. Other than that, it's up to you. 50 characters, each with 4 original illustrations. That's 200 pages total." Guangjian's eyes widen. Internally, he groans. All my best work is chibi, and the first thing he does is ban it. Still, he gathers himself and says, "All right, that'll be $2,000 per set. I know it might sound pricey for someone just starting out, but my technique is sharp and my execution flawless." Bian does the math in his head. "Wait, $2,000 per set? That's $500 per page. That's insane." He shakes his head. "That's a bit much." Guangjian stands firm. "That's already the lowest I can offer." Bian leans forward. "You see, this project requires a whole new style. It's not just the quantity, it's the complexity. Plus, our internal team has no clue about art, so the guidance is vague." Then he slaps the table, raises 3 fingers and says, "Considering all that, I think $3,000 per set is actually more fair." Guangjian snaps the pen in his hand, stunned. "Is this guy serious? He's adding 50% to his own cost." "Is this some kind of riddle?" Bian continues, handing over a brief document. "Here's the character outline." Guangjian skims through it and goes stiff. "This is so vague. How am I supposed to work from this?" Bian reassures him. "Don't worry. I believe in your talent. No need for multiple revisions. Do what feels right. You can even include that in the contract." Still reeling from the surprise, Guangjian mutters, "I guess that works. No need for extra formalities then. Let's just e-sign the contract." "Perfect," Bian beams. Contract signed. Meanwhile, Mayang is fast asleep back at the dorm, snoring peacefully, completely unaware of what's unfolding. Bian grins slyly to himself. No need to blow money on marketing. The less people who know about this, the better. Now to budget for sound effects, costume rentals, props, and keep a $10,000 cushion for emergencies. Back on campus, Guangjian rallies his fellow arty students. "All right, everyone, let's move. I've got the green light." They exchange shocked glances as they look over the deal. "Wait, $33,000 for 4 pages? That's wild. Seriously, at this rate we'll draw anything they want." Guangjian clears it up. "No chibi this time. The client was firm on that. Anything else is fair game." A red-haired student blinks. "Didn't you say all your portfolio work is chibi? Why'd they come to you if they don't want chibi?" "Shut up," Guangjian snaps. "You think I like drawing chibi? It's just what the market wants. Now I finally get to do something real." The others nod. This might just be the beginning of something big. And so the journey begins, with Bian unknowingly finding a real artistic powerhouse. After listening carefully, one of the artists crossed his arms and commented seriously, "Honestly, this style might not work for a typical Three Kingdoms game." Ruan Guangjian replied with conviction, "That's exactly why it stands out. In this version, we're reimagining the classic generals entirely to match an epic fantasy style." He looked around at his team. "Here's the plan. I'll take care of the character design drafts. You guys help refine them. Once we get the essence down, I'll finalize everything so the style stays consistent and powerful." Everyone nodded, slowly getting the vision. They shook hands, silently agreeing to push forward, no matter the outcome. If the audience doesn't like it, well, that's on the client. They're footing the bill anyway, someone said with a grin. Ruan smiled. "But if this explodes, If people love it, we might actually pull off something big. Who knows? Maybe even start our own studio after graduation. The room erupted with renewed energy. Let's do it. Let's aim for the top and show what we can really create. 3 weeks passed. Ruan Guangjian, normally dashing and full of charm, now looked like a shell of himself. 10 sleepless nights had turned him into a zombie with sunken eyes and a slow shuffle. "We're finally done," he whispered hoarsely, staring at the ceiling. "You guys did great. Let's grab some food." But his exhausted teammates were already passed out, lying in twisted heaps like soldiers after a long war. "Fine. I'll treat them to something nice tomorrow," he muttered to himself, heading to his computer. He sent a message to Bayan, who was back in his dorm room. Bayan blinked when the alert popped up. No way. Finished already? He opened the message, surprised by the speed. "Incredible work. Just hope the quality holds up," he muttered. Then he checked his system dashboard. Only 8 days left until the next accounting deadline. His available funds had dropped dramatically, down by over $291,000. All that remained was $8,792. Bayan did the math. All right. $3,000 goes to Mang's salary at the end of the month. That leaves $5,000. I'll use the rest for final resources and polish. No room for mistakes now. He clicked the download link for Ruan's final artwork. "Please don't be too good," he whispered, almost nervously. When the file opened, his jaw nearly hit the desk. Right there on the screen was Guan Yu, not as the usual stoic general, but as a menacing, sleek warrior wielding a colossal villain-style axe. Bayan froze. Wait, is this real? Did Ruan actually draw this? This is on a whole different level. Why the heck does he always showcase chibi stuff when he can do this? His mind kicked into emergency mode. I declare an urgent crisis meeting with myself. Inside his imagination, multiple versions of himself gathered like war generals at a strategy table. We can't delay any longer. The game has to launch in 2 days, or the system won't settle the funds. We need a solution now. One of the Bayans adjusted his glasses. Let's stay calm. These new styles are bold, sure, but maybe that's the charm. It's a risk worth taking. Another Bayan chimed in with a coffee cup in hand. Besides, the game is built on outdated models and simple mechanics. There's nothing flashy beyond the visuals. These designs might be the only hook we have. A third version, dressed in a differently colored bow tie, agreed. Exactly. No one's heard of our game anyway, so we control the first impression. Let's keep expectations vague and steer clear of any obvious titles like Sando or Three Kingdoms. The imaginary conference room buzzed like a marketplace, all voices blending in chaotic agreement. Right. Don't try to dominate. Search rankings. Just submit the game with a simple name and a mysterious description. That'll do the trick. Later that day, Mayang showed up in Bian's room and peeked at the screen. Whoa. Are those the characters for our game? This is incredible, Bayan smiled. Thanks to your suggestions, the artists got creative. It helped a lot. Mayang lit up. Seriously? I guess I've got a knack for this stuff too. Hey, why don't you help us test for bugs? Bayan asked. If it runs smoothly, we'll prep for launch. Sure thing, Mayang replied eagerly, following Bayan to the computer. Oh, one last thing, he asked. What's the game called again? Bayan replied casually. Glaijang. Just a plain old card game. The table was overflowing with grilled meats and drinks, the atmosphere buzzing with excitement. Come on, everyone, eat up! These lamb skewers are best hot, someone shouted, raising a glass. Don't hold back. Nobody's leaving sober. Tonight! Laughter rang out as the group dug in. In the middle of it all, a bespectacled teammate suddenly turned to Wang Jian. Hey, quick question. What game are these illustrations for, and when's it going live? Wang Jian scratched, his head a bit hazy from the drinks. I think it's called Gaiyang. Not too sure about the release date, though. I haven't checked. Pulling out his phone, he opened up the EXO platform. Wait, what? It's already live? He gasped. Didn't we just hand in the artwork this morning? The entire group dropped their food and scrambled to check their phones. Stunned, silence followed. Huh? This is just a regular card game? But it looks amazing. One of them nearly shouted, "Holy crap, even Desert Landing Expressway, that weird $10 game, was made by this guy." "I bought that one," Ruan Guanggan admitted. "I had to see how our work turned out." Just then, someone in a white hoodie started tapping away at the game. "All right, let me try a draw." "Wait, no way. I got 2 cards in one pull." Others quickly followed. "Me too. Same here. I even got 3. The table buzzed with shock and speculation. "Are the drop rates cranked up because it's still in testing?" Wang Jian wondered aloud. Then someone shoved their phone in his face. "Look at this. The store only sells 1 lifetime card for $30, and it gives you a single daily draw. That's it. No VIP system, nothing, not even a basic paywall setup." Another chimed in. "Even Sand Go has a full VIP 8-tier system. What kind of game is this?" Wang Jian opened up a chat with their CEO Bai An to clear things up. "Hey Bai An, is this version of the game official? There's barely anything in the store and no VIP system." The response was immediate and oddly formal, as if written by a judge in a courtroom drama. "Yes, this is the official version," Bian confirmed. "We only offer one purchase option, the lifetime card. No future products planned." Wang Jian blinked in disbelief. "Why just one item?" "There is no why," Bian replied coolly. "Our game uses a pure buyout model. We didn't even want to include the $30 card initially, but added it for convenience." "What about ads?" Wang Jian typed back. "The download numbers are super low. Are we not promoting it?" "Of course we're not running ads," Bian responded, almost amused. "We're out of money. All $300,000 we had went into art, models, and music. That's the entire budget." Wang Jian stared at his screen. His eyes narrowed, and he stood. "Everyone, Guyang needs us." "I used to think CEO Bai was some rich mogul," he confessed. "That's why I didn't argue about pricing. But this guy's running on fumes." Someone asked, "Wait, so this game's generosity isn't because it's not meant to make money?" "No," Wang Jian said, fists clenched. "Bian believes in keeping things clean. No shady monetization. That's the philosophy of Saya Studio." The group erupted into discussion. But someone pointed out the obvious. No matter how noble the game is, if no one sees it, it's doomed. "Unless we're influencers or streamers, we can't promote it," another muttered. Ruan Guanggan suddenly slammed the table. "If Bian insists on being idealistic, then I'll meet him halfway. I've already contacted some well-known artists. I'll ask them to help us come up with some creative ways to boost attention." Meanwhile, back at the dorm, Ma Yang looked defeated. He sat slouched in front of his laptop, groaning. "Why does our game suck so bad? Other games get thousands of downloads on day 1. We've got 10. Bian patted him on the back. "Hey, chill. Every new project starts small. It'll pick up." But inside, Bian wasn't as optimistic. "This game's got no hook. Nothing. Stands out. Nobody's gonna touch it," Mayang grumbled as he reopened the analytics dashboard. "Let me check the last 3 hours. Maybe there's been a miracle." Bian laughed quietly to himself. 3 hours? Try 3 months. It won't make a difference. We just need to hold out until the next settlement. Then I'm walking away with $300,000. "Bian!" Mayang suddenly shouted. "Dude, something's happening!" "What?" "Our downloads, they're spiking! Tons of reviews, too! All 5 stars!" Bai An nearly choked on his water. "Well, I'll be damned." "Wait, what did you just say?" he asked. Still in disbelief, the young man rushed to confirm it with his own eyes. Sure enough, the download numbers had suddenly shot up by the thousands, every single review a glowing 5-star. It didn't make sense. Aaron stood frozen, eyes wide, as if reality had just broken. Then, in a sudden outburst, he dropped to his knees, clutching his head, and cried out in torment. "Help me! Help me! What's going on with this world? What's really happening?" Hearing the commotion, Mayang sprinted over in alarm. "Bian, what's wrong? I know you've poured your soul into this game, and now that it's out, maybe..." "The pressure finally caught up to you," I get it. It must be overwhelming. But don't lose yourself in it. It's not worth your health. Bayan glanced up at her, forcing a hollow smile. Yeah, we did it. But inside, it didn't feel like success. It felt empty, desperate even. He wrestled with his emotions for a moment, then took a breath and tried to make sense of it. If we really failed, he thought, then I need to understand why. What exactly went wrong? He began scanning the reviews. One pattern emerged. Everyone kept mentioning the visuals, but how are they even seeing them? How did they get so much attention? He wondered. Determined to figure it out, Bayan began digging. Who's behind this? Who's skilled enough to pull this off? Then it hit him. Big names in the industry were promoting Wujiang. It had to be Ruan Guangjian. No way. Is that the reason? He muttered. Why would he do this? Why promote that instead of my game? Is he just trying to mess with me? Frustrated, Bayan fired off a message. Are you advertising Wujiang on Instagram? Guangjian quickly replied, yes. I asked a few artist friends to help spread the word. I saw how clean and polished your game is. It deserves recognition. We invested $300,000 in development alone. The quality speaks for itself. And my artwork hasn't received a single complaint. People genuinely like it. Reading this, Bayan felt a mix of emotions. There was anger, sure, but also gratitude. Well, he replied, thanks, I appreciate it. Guangjian followed up. Keep going, CEO Bayan. You've got talent. I believe you'll make even better games in the future. Hopefully, we'll get the chance to collaborate again. 1 week later, on accounting day, Bayan stood on his balcony, staring blankly out at the sky, deep in thought. A system message interrupted his silence. Current total capital, 514,000 net profit, 214,700 host earnings, 2,147 total personal assets. 2371 Bayan sighed heavily, reality crashing down on him. In just 1 week, Wujiang pulled in over $500,000, he thought. That's nearly $1 million in transactions. They not only recovered costs, they made serious profit. And me? I've only got 2,000 to my name. Tears welled up in his eyes as the numbers played over and over in his head. If this continues for 3 months, they'll make over 6 million. But me, how do I keep up? Rent a fancy office for $400K a month, hire 30 more staff for $200K, buy supplies, equipment. I've never done any of that. He was spiraling in worry when a gentle pat on the shoulder snapped him out of it. It was Ma Yang, cheerful as ever. Bayan, the game's on fire right now. Let's go treat ourselves, something fancy. Bayan gave a tired smile. Sure, let's go. Deep down, he remembered his promise. If we make money, I'll treat Ma Yang to a buffet. As they walked, Ma Yang asked curiously, You know, the game's a hit, but you don't look happy. What's on your mind? He gave a soft chuckle. Nothing really. Just been buried in development lately. I think I just need a breather. She bumped his shoulder playfully. You're the boss now. You've got to start taking care of yourself. You can't do everything solo. Hire an assistant, someone to take the weight off your shoulders. Bayan paused. An assistant? The idea hadn't occurred to him. Exactly, Ma Yang said. You've seen the movies. The slick CEO pulls up in a luxury car while the assistant handles the chaos back at HQ. There's even an old saying, if you've got a secretary, you've got no worries. His eyes lit up. You know what? You're right. I do need an assistant. He looked at her with a grin and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. You're a genius. I need someone professional, someone who can take care of everything. In his heart, a new plan was forming. With the right assistant, I could manage the office, hire the staff, buy supplies. Maybe this could work after all. True to his word, Bayan Kanwar headed straight for Jinggo City, where the Renli Zan Group's service center was located in Gansu province. The moment he arrived, A man in a tailored suit greeted him with a warm smile. "Welcome, CEO Bayan," he said, respectfully. "I'm Lauren, the general manager of Renli Zan Group in the Gansu-Hong area. It's an honor to assist you." Bayan shook his hand and nodded. "Good to meet you, Director Lauren. I'm here to recruit an assistant." Lauren responded promptly. "Do you have any particular requirements?" "Only one," Bayan said coolly. "The highest bidder." Lauren raised an eyebrow with interest, then gestured to a stack of documents already prepared on the table. "These are the best assistant candidates in Handong Province. Our headhunter has already reached out to them. They're sharp, capable, and very adaptable when it comes to communication and task execution." Bayan skimmed through the files until one name caught his attention. "Tan Hee-lu?" he asked. "She was an assistant vice president at a well-known firm. Why'd she resign? It's not listed here." Lauren hesitated for a moment, then gave a slight chuckle. "Perhaps CEO Bayan doesn't follow much gossip in the business world. The vice president she worked under got drunk and crossed a line. He was fired, and Tan Hee-lu resigned on her own shortly after." Bayan raised his eyebrows in surprise, quietly impressed. "That kind of integrity, admirable. Hire her." "Any requests regarding her role?" Lauren asked. "Just one," Bayan replied. "When I ask for her opinion, she can speak. Otherwise, she's to stay silent and avoid unnecessary questions." Lauren smiled knowingly. "Of course. That's standard for executive assistants." The next morning, 3 days later, a sleek car pulled up in front of a towering skyscraper. The arrival turned heads as the doors opened with polished precision. Out stepped a stunning woman with a graceful air about her. Tan Hee-lu, now Bayan's assistant. Her monthly salary, a solid $30,000. With calm professionalism, she opened the door for him and said, "We've arrived." Bayan stepped out, eyes scanning the building towering above. Shenhua Havaj Jing, the most opulent office tower in all of Chanjingzhou. He said nothing as they entered and ascended the building to meet a sharply dressed real estate agent. "If CEO Bayan prefers a private floor," the agent began enthusiastically, "you might consider the 17th. The view is spectacular. I'd be happy to show you." Bayan glanced at the city through the windows and nodded. "Nice view. And since you're starting a new business," the agent continued, "there are government perks. You can pay half now and the rest by the end of the month." "How much are we talking?" Bayan asked. The agent smiled and lifted 4 fingers. "Just $4 per square meter. Sure, it's a bit steep for Chanjingzhou, but trust me, it's worth every penny. Perfect for building a solid image." Bayan blinked. "Only 4? That's surprisingly low." The agent was thrown off by the reaction. This guy doesn't look extravagant, he thought. Yet he's got a top-tier secretary. Maybe he's one of those low-key rich types. Internally, Bayan smirked. "That's even $1 less than I estimated. Leaves me with an extra $90,000 a month." The agent, still unsure of what to make of him, asked, "So, is the space to your liking?" With a casual nod, Bayan placed one hand in his pocket. "I'll take it." Meanwhile, his mind wandered. Wu Jiang is out there grinding hard for money every day. I can't afford to waste a single cent. "Great," the agent exclaimed. "I'll get the paperwork ready right away." Soon after, Bayan began speaking to the office manager, pointing around the space. "A good work environment boosts both morale and efficiency," he said. "The desks should be not just expensive but impressive. Computers must be top of the line. Dual monitors for every employee. Mechanical keyboards, high-end mice," he continued confidently. "Also, plants. Working all day strains the eyes. Greenery helps refresh the mind. Hire someone to care for them. That corner over there? Make it a gym. In this industry, people need to stay healthy." He paused, then added, "Reception should have a cozy feel. Sofas, high-end tea sets, and at least 7 or 8 varieties of premium tea. Negotiations go smoother when people feel welcomed." The manager looked at him wide-eyed. "Understood, CEO Bayan. I'll get started right away. May I ask, what's the maximum budget for setup? Bayan took a moment, then replied, somewhere between 500,000 and 800,000 dong. Closer to 800,000, preferably. As he spoke, he thought to himself, the system hasn't flagged anything, which means 800,000 is still within limits. He silently did the math. A 700,000 deposit plus 800,000 for the office. That's 1.5 million gone in the blink of an eye. That adds up fast. After giving his assistant clear instructions on what to buy, Bayan headed to the city's most exclusive fashion boutique. There he indulged in a spree, picking up a sleek watch, a custom-fitted suit, designer leather shoes, and a variety of luxury items. By the time he was done, he looked like a divine being carved from marble. Standing nearby, his assistant Tan nodded in approval and remarked, Rishia is a top-tier Italian brand with over a century of heritage, known for flawless craftsmanship and exceptional tailoring. If the boss wants something even higher end, I can arrange it, but tailoring will take some time. Bayan grinned. No need to hold back. Tailor everything for me, he said cheerfully, then motioned toward the elegant saleswoman. We'll do 3 sets of suits. 1 set should be formal, something I can wear to high-level business meetings or ceremonial events. The other 2 can be more for daily use, but still classy. As the saleswoman noted his request, Tan added calmly, 2 sets of each, for different occasions. Start taking the boss's measurements right away. Without hesitation, the saleswoman got to work. Bayan stood patiently, thinking to himself, this is going to cost a lot, but hey, the system never flagged any of this as restricted. That means it's all fair game. Tan, ever efficient, chimed in again. Since the boss is busy, I'll pick out your casual wear later. There's no need for you to go through every piece personally. That's very thoughtful of you, Bayan said, admiring his reflection with a pleased smirk. Now this is what you call professionalism. Afterward, the 2 returned to their car and headed home. On the drive, Tan handed him a list. Boss, here's the shopping list we discussed earlier. Please review it. Bayan glanced at the list. A large bonsai tree, 988.10 lucky bamboo stalks, $188 each luxury sofa set, 660,000 handmade tea set, 22,000 natural stone tea tray, 113,000 premium tea leaves executive desk and streaming, chair high-end PC setup with dual monitors, 30 sets of custom keyboards, $600,000 total. The sheer amount made him pause for a second, but he quickly focused on the final number. It doesn't matter how much the individual items cost. It's all handled. Tan reassured him with a calm smile. All authentic products, bought at internal prices. No cost to the company. Soon they arrived at a grand building, styled like a royal palace. CEO Bayan, we're here, Tan said. This is the residence. 1 living room, 2 bedrooms, close to the school, just as you requested. The key card and door key are already inside. Bayan accepted the keys and thought to himself, so the system really doesn't mind these expenses. Clothes, rent, technically they do affect the image of a company boss. Tan bowed slightly. Please rest, boss. Everything will be delivered over the next few days. Got it, he replied. Next week, I'll start interviewing candidates. Have Assistant T prepare the necessary documents. With a sparkle in her eyes, Tan replied, Of course, that's my job. After dropping him off, Tan drove off. Bayan remained, deep in thought. All right, living arrangements handled. Next, staffing. I need someone smart, but not too smart. Otherwise, they might disrupt my plans. But I can't hire a fool either. The system won't be satisfied with that. Posting a generic job ad might just attract unreliable people. Suddenly, he remembered. Back in college. Besides Mayang, there was someone else. Later, he found himself standing in front of a place he hadn't visited in years. It was the internet cafe he basically lived in during his first year of college. He rarely went back to the dorm, even changed clothes in the cafe. Others wore shorts in the summer, but he stuck to sweaters and long pants. By second year, he had failed so many classes that the school asked him to take a break. So he survived by boosting game ranks and selling virtual items, basically living in that cafe. Then, a spark of recognition hit him. Aha! There he is! It was the person he had come to find, a chubby, disheveled gaming addict, slouched in a corner with headphones on. Bayan walked up and thought, people used to call him Kan Di Chu. BB, can you pause for a moment? Bayan asked. The young man looked up, removing his headset in surprise. You're talking to me? I've got a job offer. Interested? Bayan studied him silently. He's seasoned in gaming. The system should accept it. But knowing how to play games doesn't mean you know how to make them. He might lack flexibility. Still, it's worth a try. Administrator? Nah, not interested, Bisu replied flatly. Without a word, Bayan placed a fat stack of bills on the table. Not an admin, he said coolly. A designer. You'll get paid up front. The company will also set you up with the best gaming rig. Dual. Monitors. Full setup. Play games to your heart's content. Bisu stared at the cash, stunned. Wait, you serious? You're not pulling my leg? You'll be testing games, reporting bugs, and even helping with design and feedback. I know you've got what it takes. Bisu paused, brows furrowed, then muttered, All right, I'll think about it. Seeing he had taken the bait, Bayan smiled and stood. He placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. Good. For now, take this $500, get a haircut, buy some clean clothes. As he walked away, sharp and confident, he added, The company's in Shenhe, Haojian. I'll call you when it's time to start. Just be ready. Bisu clutched the money with trembling hands. Tears welled up in his eyes as he bowed his head onto the desk. Ah, someone finally sees my worth. Looks like Bayan had pulled it off again. Though whether this Bisu was stable enough for the job, that remained to be seen. The morning sun glinted off the mirrored windows of Bayan's towering company headquarters. A young man with messy blonde hair stood outside, squinting up at the sleek facade. So this is the famous Dangda company, he muttered to himself. They're the ones behind Desert Lurin Expressway, the top-ranking game on the Mujang charts. This was Shen Haha Jing, and the man staring up at the building was Hang Zaiba, a game planner scraping by on a modest $1,500 a month salary. He took a deep breath, straightened his collar, and walked through the front doors. Soon he was in the elevator, heading toward Ban's floor. But when the doors slid open, his breath caught in his throat. Standing inside was someone he hadn't expected to see. La Lo, the game planning manager. Sharp suit, confident smirk. Salary? A whopping $7,000 a month. La Lo? Zaiba blurted out before he could stop himself. La Lo raised an eyebrow and gave a faint smile, extending a hand. Zaiba, didn't expect to see you here. Before Zaiba could respond, La Lo continued, voice smooth and dismissive. This company's on another level. You probably won't make it past the lobby. Anyway, I'm out. Go home. Get some rest. Zaiba stood frozen as La Lo strolled past him. His expression dropped like a stone, his jaw hanging open. Wait, La Lo is here for an interview too. And even he didn't make the cut. Just how high are the standards here? Still, Zaiba took a breath and straightened up. Well, I'm already here. No harm in trying. With that, he made his way to the front desk. Two receptionists, dressed in sleek red uniforms and looking like mirror images of each other, greeted him with professional smiles. Hello. Are you here for the interview? One of them asked. Zaiba rubbed the back of his neck nervously, glancing between the two striking women. Yeah. I'm here to interview. Name's Hang Zaiba. Wait a second. Are they twins? He thought. Nearly distracted by the surreal symmetry of the scene, the twins nodded in unison. Please wait a moment. We'll notify the CEO, right this way. They led Zaiba through the office, and he couldn't help but gawk. Top-tier equipment, brand name, furniture, and a sprawling office floor that looked more like a showroom than a workplace. This place is on a whole different level, he thought, wide-eyed. One of the receptionists tapped lightly on an office door. "Excuse me, CEO Bai. The interviewee has arrived." A calm voice from within answered, "Send him in." The door opened to reveal a striking figure behind the desk, impeccably dressed, poised, and with an undeniable aura of confidence. This was Vai Khan, the CEO of Daguang Limited. "You must be Hang Ziba," the CEO said warmly. "Please come in and have a seat." Ziba hesitated a moment, then sat. Across from him, "Thank you, CEO Bai." With a graceful motion, V Khan poured him a cup of aromatic tea. "Relax. Let's talk. Here, have some tea." Ziba accepted the cup gratefully. "Thank you, sir." This guy is the real deal, Ziba thought, watching the CEO with a mix of awe and disbelief. Bai Khan leaned back slightly. "Why don't you start by telling me a bit about your work experience?" Ziba nodded, trying to steady his voice. "Of course. Previously I worked at Shangyang Game." When Bayan smiled, it wasn't just any smile. It was soft, composed, and yet oddly chilling. Standing across from him, Ziba felt a sudden shiver crawl up his spine. Something's off, he thought nervously. Why is the CEO smiling like that? Ziba's mind raced. Is he mocking me? Am I being laughed at for showing up here with so little experience? What was I thinking, coming to a major interview like this so soon in my career? I must look like a naive dreamer. But then, to his utter confusion, Bayan clapped his hands lightly and said with bright enthusiasm, "Excellent. Truly excellent." Ziba blinked. Did I hear that right? He stared at the CEO in disbelief, completely lost. Then, as if delivering a verdict, Bayan pointed directly at him and declared, "Your qualifications are a perfect match for what we're looking for. When can you start?" Ziba's eyes nearly popped out of his head. Was this real? Was he hallucinating? "Tomorrow, sir," he blurted out, half in a daze. Bayan gave a delighted laugh. "Wonderful. In that case, bring your resignation documents tomorrow. We'll handle all the formalities and sign the employment contract." Still reeling, Ziba nodded. As the reality started to sink in, he remembered something important: salary negotiations. Nervously, like a teenager asking their crush to prom, he stammered, Would $2,000 a month be all right? That's not unreasonable, is it?" He reassured himself. "I have 6 months of experience already. My last job paid $1,500. A $500 raise seems fair, not greedy, but instead of responding right away, Bayan let out a deep sigh and even raised a hand to his forehead, as if Ziba's request had caused him some great distress. Ziba's stomach dropped. Did I just blow it? Was that too much? I should have stayed quiet and accepted the same pay. What was I thinking trying to negotiate? But before Ziba could apologize, Bayan lowered his hand and said, almost like a teacher giving a life lesson, "Tell me, renting a modest place in Jingo costs about $1,000 a month, wouldn't you agree? And if you're eating out or entertaining guests, $800 on food and social expenses isn't extravagant, is it?" Ziba shook his head slowly, unsure where this was going. Bayan continued, his voice calm and confident. "You'll need $300 a month for a few changes of clothes. Nothing fancy, just to stay professional. Utilities and basic monthly expenses add up to about $200 more. Let's say you want to surprise your girlfriend with the occasional gift. Lipstick, perfume, small luxuries. That's another $300. Toss in $100 for transport, and we're already over $2,700. Ziba listened, speechless, eyes wide. "And yet," Bayan went on, "you'd still want to save something, wouldn't you? $500 a month, maybe? That would be the wise thing to do, not to mention annual insurance premiums, at least $3,500 a year just to maintain a decent safety net." The CEO leaned back in his chair and folded his hands. "Our company believes in giving employees a quality of life above the industry standard. Ziba stood frozen, struck silent by what he'd just heard. And then Bayan raised 4 fingers, looked him square in the eye, and asked calmly, "So tell me, does $4,000 a month sound fair to you?" Upon hearing the offer, the young man stood frozen, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Is this real?" he thought, dazed. "Do rich people all think like this?" Ziba awkwardly rubbed the back of his head, still processing what had just happened. Yeah, okay. Sure," he replied, his voice unsteady. The 2 men shook hands firmly. Bayan grinned and added cheerfully, "Well then, let's consider that settled. Dang D Network Technology Company is happy to have you on board." Ziba, still stunned, thanked him profusely before stumbling out of the office. His legs felt like jelly as he walked, and he had to steady himself before quietly shutting the door behind him. Inside, Bayan leaned back into his chair, grabbing a pen to sign off on some paperwork. As he flipped through the stack, he came across a resume marked with the name Lao, a name that instantly soured his mood. Without hesitation, he struck it out and moved on. Meanwhile, Hang Ziba's application, which had landed on the top of the pile not long ago, was approved without a second glance. Bayan clapped his hands together, excited. "Fantastic! This is going to open up so many doors." Just outside the office, the 2 receptionists stood completely still, their expressions frozen in disbelief. The commotion nearby explained it. A crowd of Dang D employees were huddled around, shouting at each other while intensely battling in an online game. One of them, mid-match, looked up at Ziba and gave him a thumbs up. "You've got skills. Let's add each other. What's your ID?" Ziba, still trying to recover from shock, replied politely, "It's Bisu. Go ahead and add me." Back inside the office, Mayang knocked and peeked in. "Hey Bayan, mind if I join you for a bit?" Bayan, comfortably lounging on a sofa while playing Wild Rift, waved him in. "Sure, come on in, have some tea." Mayang poured himself a cup and took a seat. "You really get your team," he said, impressed. "From what I saw, it looks like your department's almost at full capacity. Hiring doesn't seem to be a problem for you." With a casual gesture, Bayan handed over a folder, thick with resumes. "Take a look for yourself," he said. "These are our latest recruits." Mayang opened the folder and began flipping through the pages. As he read, his expression shifted, his brow furrowed, eyes slowly widening. Each profile seemed more underwhelming than the last. Most had little experience, and their listed accomplishments were sparse, if any. His tone turned skeptical. "Is it really this hard to find capable designers like you?" he asked, glancing up. "Maybe we need to reconsider the budget or outsource recruitment." He looked down again, baffled. This wasn't what he had expected at all. Bayan's expression hardened the moment he heard the question. His voice turned cold, distant. "There were applicants," he said. "Designers. But I rejected them all." Mayang, wide-eyed and confused, blinked. "Wait, what? Why?" Bayan turned to the glass doors of the office, raising one hand in a dismissive wave. "First of all, every single one of them had the same problem. They were stuck in their own heads. No flexibility, no willingness to explore new ideas." He paused. "And second, they were asking for outrageous salaries. Their quality didn't match the price tag." Mayang nodded slowly, starting to see the logic. I get it now," Bayan continued, a sharp edge to his voice. "But most importantly, they didn't seem to care about games anymore. No spark, no passion, just clocking in and out." That last point made Mayang scratch his head. Well, without any of them, who's going to handle the game design? Bayan let out a long breath, then looked Mayang directly in the eye. "I will." "You? But you're the boss. Shouldn't you have a lead designer to handle that?" "I do have help," Bayan replied calmly. There's someone named Hang Ziba. He's been assisting with the design work. Quite capable, actually. Mayang raised an eyebrow. Hang Ziba? But doesn't he only have, like, half a year of experience, and mostly in operational planning? Bayan clapped his hands together once, sharply. Don't get caught up in titles. Look at what he's actually done. The guy's built original game systems using cloud-based tools. He's revised the game's datasheet at least 7 or 8 times. That's not just operations. That's real design work. Mayang's eyes lit up. So he's a hidden gem then. Honestly, with that kind of talent, 4,000 a month seems way too low for him. Bayan smirked inwardly. This kid's easy to impress. But he nodded. I agree. But there's no need to rush things. If he continues performing well, he'll be rewarded. That goes for others on the team too. He shifted gears. Take Baku, for example. In the virtual world, he's a legend. Top of the rankings in our tribe. He's already earned 6 titles based on pure in-game achievements. Leading teams to take down massive bosses is just another day for him. Mayang leaned forward in awe. He sounds incredible. With someone like that driving the project's progress, we're in good hands. Bayan smiled faintly. It's all about talent, isn't it? When should we start? Mayang asked, eager. Bayan glanced out the window, then back at him. No need to wait for the perfect day. Let's get moving tomorrow. Just moments later, B. Kanan stepped out of his office, his presence commanding attention. With a raised voice that carried across the bustling room, he addressed the entire team. Everyone, may I have your attention, please? I have an important announcement. All activity came to a halt. Conversations died mid-sentence. Fingers paused on keyboards, and heads turned toward him as the employees quickly gathered around. Curiosity piqued. With a satisfied nod, Kanan continued. We've gone through the preparation phase smoothly. Most of you are already settling into the workflow, so starting tomorrow, our official operations begin. Cheers erupted across the office. The atmosphere turned electric, filled with smiles and celebratory chatter. People clapped, exchanged high fives, and voiced their excitement. It's happening. It's really happening, someone grinned. We're finally moving into the intense research phase. Amid the celebration, Hingzibi quietly muttered to himself, voice thick with emotion. Let's give it everything we've got. With an ideal work environment, great benefits, and a boss who actually sees our potential. Why hold back now? Let's go all in. As the words left his lips, he suddenly choked up. Tears welled in his eyes, spilling down his cheeks as the weight of the moment settled in. His passion was unmistakable. Watching the scene with amusement, Kanan smiled and clapped his hands once more. All right. To properly celebrate tomorrow's official start, let's wrap up early today. Everyone, feel free to head home. Hingzibi stood there frozen, as though struck by lightning. His mind reeled. Did I hear that correctly? Kanan went on, oblivious to the emotional storm brewing inside Hing. Oh, and by the way, it's Friday. So yes, we're finishing early today. Tomorrow and Sunday are the weekend, of course. And Monday. Well, that's Singles Day. We're taking that off too. By now, Kwang Zin Bi had glanced over at the wall clock. His eyes widened in disbelief. 3 o'clock? We're clocking out at 3? Heaven help him. This really was the dream job. It was Monday evening at Ban's house. He lay sprawled on the sofa, eyes fixed on the ceiling, deep in thought. Tomorrow marked the official start of their next move, and the question weighed on him. What kind of failure should we engineer this? Time to guarantee success through failure. Summoning an imaginary strategy meeting in his mind, Ban pictured his team gathered around. As always, the first to speak was Bayan. I'll start, Bayan said, sounding slightly annoyed. Let's hear from Mr. Bayan with glasses, he added with a theatrical sigh, rolling his eyes at himself. He continued, tone now serious. This round's challenge is tricky. We need to deliberately head in the wrong direction, without tipping off the employees that it's intentional. Baikan, cradling a cup of coffee, nodded in agreement. With smart devices everywhere these days, the mobile gaming market is saturated and hyper-competitive. It's a no-go zone for us now. Bayan reached over and picked up his handheld console. So how about a PC game instead? Something ambitious, like a sprawling virtual world, something to shake up the genre. Baikan, with glasses, adjusted his specs and raised an eyebrow. A PC game? That's risky. What if it accidentally becomes another Minecraft? That would be a total disaster for our plans. Baikan slapped his mug onto the coffee table, the clatter echoing through the room. Okay, what about a shooter? Those are hot right now. They rake in profits and attention. Baikan, with glasses, raised his hand in agreement. Exactly. The shooter genre demands a high level of polish and technical expertise. There's no way our team can pull that off. It's the perfect trap. The whole mental panel nodded in unison, each raising a hand as if they were soldiers ready to charge into glorious failure. Full commitment, Bayan confirmed. We'll dive in head first. The outcome is almost guaranteed, unpolished, incomplete, and doomed to flop. With just enough strange design choices thrown in during development, added Baikan, we can make sure it crashes and burns completely. Ban, still lounging on the couch, smirked to himself. The plan was set. They would move fast, aim high, and miss spectacularly. Let's get started. Tuesday morning, November 12th. The company's entire workforce gathered in the main conference room at Pon's request. Every seat was taken, and every eye locked onto him with anticipation. The energy was thick with curiosity. Pon, standing, tall at the head of the table, cleared his throat and began with a commanding voice. Our next major initiative, he declared, is to develop a PC game, specifically a first-person shooter. A ripple of surprise moved through the room. At the far end of the table, Hangsbei's expression soured instantly. His face turned a sharp shade of green, like someone had dropped a lime in his coffee. The news hit him harder than expected. Another bold leap? Gang was already a massive success, and now this? A full-scale PC FPS? Just as Hangsbei opened his mouth to object, Baikan cut in, sharp and unapologetic. No mobile games, he snapped. Dangda's ambition is to dominate the game industry. We're not here to make casual distractions. We're here to build a legacy. He paused, eyes scanning the room before continuing with thunder in his voice. We're not chasing money. That's not the Dangda way. That's not my way. Then he raised his hand in a theatrical flourish, voice booming across the conference room. If we're not going to commit to this, truly commit, then let's walk away right now. But if we're doing this, we do it better than anyone else. Room erupted into wild applause, the noise echoing off the walls. The staff clapped with such enthusiasm it nearly drowned out the buzz in everyone's heads. Hangsbei, still reeling, sat back in his chair, silently nodding. So this is what sets CEO Bai apart, he thought. The man's vision isn't just ambitious, it's in another league entirely. Then Baikan, eyes sharp, turned and pointed to his left. For this project, he said, Hangsbei and Bisu will take the lead. Bisu, you'll be responsible for creative and conceptual design. Hangsbei, you'll direct the strategic execution. The room went silent for a beat. Hangsbei, blonde hair catching the light, looked like he'd been struck by lightning. Strategic. Oversight? Me? It was a promotion that usually took half a decade to reach, and he'd just leapt into it overnight. Before anyone could process the implications, Baikan held up 3 fingers. This game, he said, must meet 3 core requirements. 1. It must have a complex and engaging storyline. This isn't just a shoot-'em-up. It needs emotional weight, characters, depth, a real narrative. 2. Prioritize the user experience, simpler interfaces, smoother gameplay. If players can't pick it up and enjoy it fast, we've failed. 3, he said, lowering his hand slowly. We need something memorable, something epic, a top-tier legendary weapon, something so outrageous it turns heads. We'll price it at $888. There was a pause. He looked across the room, daring anyone to challenge him. That price, he added with a smile, will make sure the players feel the power. Everyone stared, stunned. It wasn't just another project. This was a declaration of war on the industry. And Bai Khan had no intention of losing. You guys can figure out how many to sell. I'm not interested in the details. Hangsba raised his hand hesitantly. CEO Bayan, if I may. Bayan didn't even glance his way. The dismissal was silent, but absolute. Not a flicker of acknowledgement. Typical. Well then, if no one else has input, excellent. Let's move on. The room erupted into polite applause, though the clapping was robotic. Each team member wore the same forced smile, silently seething. What's the point of a meeting if he won't let us speak? Bayan rose smoothly from his chair, straightening his crisp jacket. Planning team, you've got 1 week. I want a full layout of design plan B, he pointed with calculated precision. Shu, you'll lead ideation and creative direction. Hangsba, I expect a detailed structure and breakdown of tasks. Mayang, for now, focus on absorbing everything you can. Help, wherever you're needed. Mayang responded instantly, her voice bright. Understood, I'll do my best. With that, Bian lifted a hand to silence the room again, his tone sharpened. If anything comes up, especially budget-related, come directly to me. Don't hesitate. He stepped forward with deliberate weight, voice like frost. This meeting's over. The team stood, murmuring agreement, but Bayan's thoughts were already elsewhere. Calculating, critical. FPS games aren't like the rest, he mused privately. Plot complexity only gets you so far. Players think they want meaningful choices, but most decisions end up shallow. A waste of time, really. Worse still are the newcomers. Lowering difficulty might attract them, but it risks alienating the hardcore crowd. And then there's pricing. $888 for premium weapons? Ridiculous. He frowned. Especially when you've already got a juggernaut like CSO out there. Their gameplay's tight, polished. They've set the bar high, scoring a perfect 100 in player engagement. Trying to outdo that? Insanity. Here we are, pouring months into intricate storylines and pricing models for a genre none of us have actually developed in before. Not one person here has FPS experience. It's a miracle if this game even makes it past beta, but his lips curled into a smile. Still, if this gamble pays off, it's my turn to cash in. That evening, long after most had left the company office, Wang Zba remained at his desk. He worked in silence, reflecting on the responsibilities that came with his role as a strategic overseer. Even if CEO Bai decides to dock my pay for overtime, he thought, this work still needs to be done. Just then, to everyone's surprise, Balu stepped forward with a thick stack of documents. It looked more like a mountain than a proposal. Mr. Hang, he said confidently, I've sketched out a rough draft of the preliminary plan. Wang Zba, caught off guard, raised his eyebrows. Without hesitation, he stood up and pulled out a chair. For the young bee show, please, have a seat before you continue. Balu nodded, took the seat, and launched into his explanation. The second and third requirements from CEO Bai are relatively easy to meet. The real difficulty lies in the first one, the complexity of the plot. We simply can't match the level of perfection seen in foreign FPS titles. Whether it's the character designs, animations, or environments, they all demand a high bar that's hard to reach. Wang Zba nodded thoughtfully. Yes, I feel the same. Balu went on, CEO Bai has a knack for getting a lot with minimal investment. I think this challenge is just another example of that. We're expected to deliver a tight, engaging story, compelling characters, and immersive settings, all on a lean budget. He tapped the plan in front of him. Let's start with the characters. Since we're working with a first-person perspective, we can simplify the protagonist. Instead of creating multiple complex models, we allow the player to toggle between battling zombies or mercenaries. We'll adapt a base model to suit either path. As long as we include a variety of monsters, it should provide enough diversity to keep players interested. Wang's Ba, his blonde hair catching the overhead lights, leaned back in thought. I see your point, he said. But if we stick only to zombies and mercenaries, the narrative might feel a little shallow. I think we should still consider adding a few more character types to enrich the story. Baku unrolled a sprawling blueprint that resembled a tangled forest of paper. With a calm conviction, he said, "We only need one character, a girl. Specifically, she won't be able to speak." Hang DB stared at the proposal, visibly taken aback. "A mute character?" he asked, eyebrows raised. Baku nodded without hesitation. "Exactly. It's the most practical decision. Otherwise, we'd need to hire a voice actor, and syncing the lip movements would mean a huge amount of extra work." "She won't need a voice," he continued. "Gestures, facial expressions, and body language will be enough. She's meant to be a silent guide, a light cutting through the dark. While players get lost in the grind of battling zombies and mercenaries, she'll be there to steer them emotionally and provide contrast. She'll also help with solving puzzles," Baku added. "Like in one scenario, when the main entrance is blocked but there's a nearby vent. She can crawl through and unlock the door from the other side, assisting the main character without saying a word." Hawaiian Zal, who had been listening intently, gave a thoughtful nod. "All right, I like the concept. But how are you planning to introduce her within the story's framework? Sounds like you're building a base of some sort, near the sea." Baku folded his arms, eyes narrowing slightly. "That's right. The entire game is set inside a coastal research facility. A sinister organization is conducting virus experiments there. The protagonist has to fight their way up, from the bottom level all the way to the top, and eventually escape." He gestured to the layout. "The setting is limited to the base, rooms, corridors, a few outdoor walkways. The environment will reflect the chaos of the experiment. Some areas will be trashed, others infected or marked by viral residue. We can reuse certain assets and slightly modify details to create 3 to 4 visual variations of each room type. That way we keep it efficient while maintaining visual interest." Upon hearing this, Ha'an's Bey's eyes lit up. "Now that is a top-tier concept," he said, grinning. The two of them immediately dove into deeper brainstorming, their ideas picking up momentum like wildfire. Bisu leaned forward thoughtfully. "You know," he said, "aside from how the scenes play out, we could deepen the content itself. For example, why would a young girl be working inside an evil maritime corporation?" Hang Zi lit up. "Ah, yes. That's a crucial question. Suppose the girl carries a rare antibody in her system, something that makes her immune to the infection. It would make perfect sense for the corporation to capture her, right? They'd want to run experiments on her to develop treatments or a cure." "Very clever," Bisu nodded. "And her unique blood could be used to help the main character resist the virus. Picture this. When the player character is injured by zombies, the girl uses a special device to draw her own blood. That sample is then used to treat the wound and suppress the infection." KZ's eyes gleamed. "Exactly. And over time, as the number of treatments increases, the girl becomes visibly weaker. It's a powerful emotional hook. To reduce the burden on her, players could level up their skills, becoming more efficient in using the treatment." "Brilliant," Hang Zi chimed in, raising a finger as if delivering a punchline. "Mr. Ba, you've done a phenomenal job. With minimal resources, you've managed to construct a storyline that's both emotionally resonant and logically sound." Balu gave a modest chuckle. "I can't take all the credit. I was just following CEO Bai's writing outline. I'm pretty sure he envisioned most of this from the start." Hang Zi gave a sly smile. "You're too humble. CEO Bai laid out 3 major directives, and with everything going on, your approach fits perfectly. It's like it was all meant to come together this way." "Just a coincidence," Balu replied, with a shrug. But CEO Bai has already led the successful development of 2 hit games in a row. That kind of consistency shows he's been thinking long-term from the very beginning. Hang Zi narrowed his eyes, as if sensing something deeper. Really now? And what were the other 2 directives from CEO Bai? Bisu laughed. The first was to lower the difficulty level, especially for new players. The focus is on easing them particularly when it comes to hand-eye coordination. These things can be gradually tuned as the player progresses. And the second? Hang Zi asked curiously. It's about the game's weapon system, Bisu continued. CEO Bai has a vision for long-term player retention. Legendary weapons with permanent ownership, for example, can be priced at a premium. But to support that, we'll also need to include a whole tiered system. Common weapons, refined versions, and heroic class items too. So how will players acquire these? Hang Zi asked, leaning in. In other words, Balu said with a grin, it's all about balance. You give players a sense of progression, a reason to keep playing, and opportunities to earn or buy increasingly powerful gear. CEO Bai's plans might seem simple on the surface, but there's a lot of strategic thinking behind them. CEO Bu made it clear, weapons in the game must be ranked. Only the legendary ones will be sold. The rest? Players will need to earn them. Guangza, his blonde hair catching the light, caught on immediately. His eyes lit up. So, we'll let players get weapons through different gameplay paths. That's going to make everything more dynamic, he said, clearly impressed. Turns out, CEO Bu wasn't just thinking about balance. He had a broader vision. Guangza and Bu were clearly on the same wavelength. A rare connection like this between 2 creative minds was bound to lead to something special. Of course, where there's innovation, there's also profit. That much was inevitable. A few moments later, Guangza spoke again. All right, looks like everything's been wrapped up. He knew CEO Bu's intentions were more than just about features. Bu was gently guiding them, making sure they didn't lose their way, all while nudging their ideas forward. We have to nail this. We have to create a game that meets his expectations, Za said with quiet conviction. It was the morning of Wednesday, November 14th at Baikan University. Students were buried in their books, fully focused. Baikan himself was in the back of the room, far from interested in class. He was absorbed in a round of CS-GO, totally disconnected from the lesson. So dull, he muttered. If I didn't have to set an example for the staff, I'd just go to the office and actually enjoy myself. Suddenly, a message popped up on his phone. It was from Hangsba. CDO Bu says the overall game plan is nearly done. Please take a look at the draft direction. Baikan blinked in disbelief. No way they finished that in 2 days, he thought. Still, curiosity got the better of him. He opened the file. The screen was instantly flooded with a dense block of text, like trying to decode a Japanese dictionary. His head ached just looking at it. There's no way I can read all this on a phone, he grumbled. Instead, he skimmed. Let's see if they nailed the 3 key points I gave them. The plot line? Present. Lowered difficulty? Check. And the 888 legendary weapons with permanent ownership? Included. Looks like they really pulled it off, he thought. A slow smile forming. The scene opens inside the bustling office of Didi Company. The atmosphere is anything but professional. Employees are fully immersed in a range of video games, shouting at screens and arguing with each other. Aparis slammed his keyboard in. Frustration, his voice rising over the noise. Why is everyone playing like complete amateurs? How am I supposed to carry this team alone? You're honestly the dumbest player here. Meanwhile, Bisu was just as absorbed in his game, his eyes locked on the screen. Suddenly, an idea struck him. Without missing a beat, he fired off a message to Huang Zi. Hey, this storyline isn't bad at all. Record your screen and send it to me. We might be able to use this. Huang Zi replied promptly. Got it, Mr. Ba. He quickly put on his headphones, focused in, and started recording. Across the room, the always laid-back Mayang observed the scene and thought to himself, "So Huang Zi is gaming again. Figures." Fast forward to the evening of November 18th. Bon sat silently, staring at the system board, his appetite completely gone. His current balance showed $971,000, with a profit of $471,500. He muttered to himself, "Why is it so hard to lose money now?" His musings were cut short by a sudden knock at the door. Mayang burst in, breathless and urgent. "Mr. Bon, I've discovered something. Huang Zi's team has been staying late every night. They're using company computers after hours." Bon's face turned ghostly white. "What? Working overtime? Immediately tell them to stop. Who gave them permission? Who do they think they are, rebels?" Mayang quickly clarified. "Oh, no. I think they're just playing games." Bon let out a long breath, visibly relieved. "Ah, that's different. You must have misunderstood. Huang Zi and the others, just gaming? That's fine." Mayang looked puzzled. "So, should we still say something? I mean, they're burning through company resources. Isn't that a problem?" Bon raised a hand calmly. "No need. We're a gaming company. Let them play. They're learning, understanding. Top-tier games from around the world. That's valuable experience." But deep down, Bon had a very different thought. As long as they're not working, that's perfect. The more snacks they eat, the more electricity they use, the more it costs me, and the faster my system funds drain. Perfect. Mayang, still confused, asked, "So, you're saying just let it go?" Without responding, Bon's expression turned serious. He walked straight to the director's desk and slammed his hand down on the table, water splashing slightly from a nearby cup. "Let it go?" "Absolutely not," he declared, voice echoing. D-Day is a company that values its employees. As per labor regulations, anyone working overtime must be paid fairly. Weekday overtime is 1.5x base pay. Weekends? Double. He began typing rapidly, then printed a fresh document. Turning to Mayang, he handed it over. "This is your new task. Starting now, you'll track every minute of overtime they put in. When the time comes, calculate the wages down to the last cent. No exceptions." Mayang stepped out, clutching the list with a confused look plastered across her face. Back in the office, Bayan leaned into his chair, a smug grin spreading across his lips. Why hadn't anyone else thought of this overtime pay loophole before? He mused. "I truly am a genius," he added silently, proud of his own cunning. The next day at the office, the team was unusually animated, huddled around their desks with game controllers in hand, using their lunch break for an impromptu gaming session. Amidst the commotion, Huang Zi quietly approached Bayan's office and gave the door a polite knock. "Excuse me, CEO Bayan, it's me, Huang Zi." Bayan, still basking in yesterday's self-satisfaction, gestured for him to come in. Right on his heels came Zeeble, her blonde hair catching the light. She handed Bayan a document and said, "Here's the invoice for the resources we need to purchase online. Please take a look." Bayan nodded and motioned for them to sit. Huang Zi stepped in again, adding, "I've done a thorough job managing the budget. I even found some great deals on high-quality assets. There shouldn't be any issues." Bayan skimmed the report, and his face twisted in disbelief. "What? Only $670,000? That's laughable," he barked. "This is a high-end PC game. Just the design resources alone should be $700,000 to $800,000. Revise the budget, double it." Internally, Bayan fumed. "At this rate, how are we supposed to drain the system's funds? What a joke. This is unacceptable." Across the room, Lizima was nearly trembling. Yes, CEO Bayan. I'll revise it immediately." "Oh, and there's one more thing," Lizima stammered. "It's about the name of the game. Box Esho suggested we call it War of the Sea. Sounds unusual. I wasn't sure whether we should keep it or let you decide." Bayan's expression froze. War of the Sea. Why does that sound so familiar? He rubbed his chin, thinking deeply. Wait a second, that was the name of some obscure street film before I transmigrated here. Suddenly he slapped his palm on the desk with force. That's it, War of the Sea. I love it. That name's perfect. Let's go with it. Huang Zi glanced over, baffled. Is he just picking names out of thin air? Is this really happening? Yes. Yes, of course, Huang said, nodding quickly. I'll update the budget right away. With that resolved, Bayan leaned back in his chair again, lacing his fingers behind his head and crossing his legs confidently. Some people just don't understand the art of burning through 300 million in system funds within a month, he thought, smugly. If a blockbuster movie can crash and burn in theaters, then a game title like this might be all we need to tank a company's future. Perfect. Friday, November 29th. Just another routine day at the office. Everyone was glued to their monitors, deep into their games. The hum of computers filled the air, a symphony of digital warfare and strategy. Without warning, a figure approached. Saya Lu, who sat hunched in a white lab coat, completely absorbed. A thick stack of papers landed on his desk. Hey, Saya Lu, said the newcomer. There's a problem with this function. Mind taking a look? Saya picked up the report, scanning it briefly. No problem, Wang Zba. I'll get on it right. Away, Wang Zba smiled, giving him a solid pat on the shoulder. You're doing great. Keep learning from Mr. Ba. He's still the best challenger around. As he walked away, Wang Zba sighed and looked down at another report he was holding. The budget for resources started at $700,000, then jumped to $1.2 million. Now it's $1.5 million, he muttered. This just keeps climbing. He stared at his monitor, deep in thought. CEO Bu has never criticized me before, but if this game doesn't succeed, then all the time and money he's invested in training, me would be wasted. Just then, his phone buzzed with a notification. He tapped the screen and blinked in disbelief. Payday? Already? He said aloud. Wait, is today even the 29th? Don't most companies pay at the end of the month? He rubbed his forehead, confused. And didn't I only start on the 5th? It hasn't even been a full month. This must be a mistake. Without wasting time, Wang Zba dialed the director's secretary. Hi, Tan. Sorry to bother you, but I think there's an issue with my salary. After insurance, my pay's over $5,000. That can't be right. My base is only $44,000 a year. Tan chuckled warmly through the phone. No mistake, Wang. That includes your overtime pay. He froze. Overtime? Yep, she said brightly. You logged nearly 50 hours of overtime, didn't you? We pay time and a half here. After taxes and deductions, that's what you're owed. Wang Zba stood in stunned silence, unable to process the generosity. Overtime pay? They actually tracked it? He wasn't the only one surprised. Around the office, others were checking their phones and gasping. Oh man, it's true. I got overtime pay too. The young man in the white coat was visibly emotional. He'd never imagined the company cared this much. Across the room, Balu was in tears. So CEO Bu really sees us, he murmured, wiping his cheeks. Ba's voice cracked. He didn't scold us for staying late. He just quietly made sure we were compensated. CEO Bu, thank you. United by the gesture, the team felt a new sense of purpose. For CEO Bu, someone shouted. The room echoed with agreement. We'll make this game the best it can be. The entire office erupted into enthusiastic cheers. Fighting! Fighting! We can do it! Moments later, the mood shifted as the scene transitioned to the quiet, sleek director's office. There, Bayan, our protagonist, sat in a thoughtful daze, gazing out the window. His thoughts were far from the celebration, lingering instead on memories of his grandfather. We still haven't used up the system funds, he muttered, troubled. Snapping back to reality, he pressed a button on his desk and called for an emergency round-table meeting with 5 key team members. The urgent spending session was about to begin. As the group gathered, Bayan didn't hesitate. His hand shot up first. I'll start, he said firmly. He turned to the others. Last week, we directed part of the budget toward acquiring new art assets. What remained was earmarked for office rent, salaries, and other incidentals. It was a struggle to use up. Nearly all of the system's funds, but with only 2 months left until the next financial closeout, we still have significant revenue flowing in from Luang. Everyone exchanged uneasy glances. Spending money quickly and meaningfully wasn't as easy as it sounded. Any suggestions? Bayan asked. A second Bayan, a clone or digital proxy of sorts, materialized on the screen. What if we organize a company team-building event? That sparked immediate interest. The others perked up. Team building? Someone echoed. The 5 of them leaned in, suddenly energized by the idea. If we take about 30 employees out for a group dinner, with each person spending between $100 and $200, we'd rack up a pretty substantial bill. It could easily run into the thousands. Perfect, said one. Let's do it. Let's assign. Assistant Tan to arrange everything. With a nod, Bayan agreed. Let's get it scheduled. True to his word, Bayan summoned Assistant Tan. She appeared promptly, clipboard in hand. By the end of this month, I want a team-building event organized, he instructed. I'll leave the itinerary planning to you. Tan responded without hesitation. Absolutely, CEO Bayan. Just say the word. Bayan leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled under his chin. I'm thinking of taking the entire company to Yangchang for a professional exchange tour. Nothing too long. 5 days should do it. Each day we'll visit a different company. For learning and networking. Ideally, large-scale gaming companies, FPS developers if possible. He continued, the company will cover everything. Flights, accommodations, meals. Start drafting a cost estimate. As she scribbled down notes, Bayan was already doing the math in his head. The whole affair could run 10 times over the original budget, maybe even reach $200,000 or more. Still, he concluded, it's a small price to pay. If it helps the team grow, it's worth every penny. Tan smiled warmly. Understood, CEO Bayan. I'll take care of it. Everything will go smoothly. In the vibrant recreation lounge of Dangdu Company, the air was buzzing. Not with work, but with the excited clicks and cheers of employees deep in gaming. Amid the noise, someone suddenly exclaimed, "We have to check out Yangchang. It's such a good opportunity to learn." A colleague in a green hoodie nodded enthusiastically. Definitely. I heard Assistant Tan's already got our tickets arranged. I've never heard of a company organizing learning exchanges with other companies, someone else added from across the room. Another group of co-workers chimed in from nearby. It must be expensive, though. I mean, if I had to pay for something like this out of my own pocket, I'd seriously reconsider. But hey, our company really spoils us with these kinds of perks. Which companies are on the visit list this time? Someone asked curiously. I'd bet Tianhu's one of them, right? The guy in white nodded. Oh, for sure. Tianhu's famous, especially for their FPS titles. There's a lot we could pick up from them. At that, Hang Ji, normally, the voice of reason, sighed and clapped his hands. All right, everyone, let's not lose focus. We still have deadlines to meet. Don't let Yangchang distract you. The guy in white laughed sheepishly. We're just a little excited, that's all. It's not every day we get to visit a top-tier studio like Tianhu. Don't worry, someone reassured Hang Ji. Wang Zimba will make sure everything's wrapped up on time, with top-tier quality no less. Meanwhile, in CEO Bai Khan's office, the atmosphere was less cheerful and more stunned. He stared at the report in disbelief. Wait, all of this for less than $150,000? Tan, his efficient secretary, nodded. Everything's calculated according to standard business travel procedures. The trip's scheduled for the end of December. We've estimated around 30 participants, factoring in those who might decline. Hotel rates are $300 per person, or $600 for a shared double room per night. That includes meals, transportation, and a small buffer for support staff. Bai Khan paused, deep in thought. Then, almost on a whim, he said, Maybe we should upgrade the flights to first class. The words had barely left his mouth when a system alert chimed in his mind like a scolding. Nanny, warning, excessive expenditure risk. He sighed, handing the report back to Secretary Tan. All right, stick with the current plan. Inwardly, Baikon couldn't help but sulk. Only $150,000. To take 30 people to Yangchang, that's practically a shoestring budget. But Tan flashed a professional smile. Understood, CEO Bai. I'll coordinate with the companies over there. The scene shifts to bustling Yangchang, specifically inside the sleek headquarters of Tianhu Company. Their CEO, Jay Mogan, usually relaxed, casual in demeanor, raised an eyebrow as he scanned the visitor request in his hand. Wait a second. Dangdu Network Technology wants to visit us for a professional exchange. A female employee nodded. Yes, that's correct, CEO Zhu. Mogan's expression shifted from mild interest to genuine surprise. Seriously? A game company organizing a cross-company visit like this? They'll be visiting a few companies, the employee added. Ours is one of the primary stops. Apparently, their product manager is Ru Jiang. Mogan was floored. Wait, D is one of theirs? He muttered to himself. One revelation after another. Well, even if the higher-ups are unavailable, Zheng Yun can handle the reception. It won't take much time. But internally, Mogan was thinking fast. D is blowing up right now. It's one of the most talked about mobile games on the market. Whoever created it must be seriously talented. He straightened up, a new spark of interest in his eyes. All right, go ahead and finalize the schedule. I'll welcome them personally. The employee handed him a finalized list, and Mogan gave a small nod. This might be a visit worth making time for, after all. Yes, CEO Zhu. One last thing. The list of underperforming employees has been finalized. Please take a look. Zhu Moyam glanced at the document, brows barely twitching. After a brief scan, he handed it back without a second thought. Put everyone except Linwen on leave. Follow standard procedure. The assistant blinked, clearly surprised. Keep Linwen? Zhu leaned back in his chair, a slow sigh escaping him. Why Linwen indeed? His thoughts drifted back to an earlier conversation, a call that had started it all. Mr. Zan Linen, from Manhwa Corporation? Yes, came the smooth voice on the other end. A pleasure, CEO Zhu. I've heard much about you. Let's speak frankly. Whatever issue you're facing, I'm confident we can help. About Linwen. She's your employee, correct? Zhu had felt a shift in tone then, subtle but unmistakable. She's my niece, Zan continued. I trust she'll be treated with care. But, let's be honest, this field isn't right for everyone. Find a way for her to step down voluntarily. Would you? The call had ended, but the implications lingered like smoke. Manhwa Corporation, the most powerful conglomerate in the country. A connection to them could catapult Zhu's company forward in ways he'd only dreamed of. Losing one low-tier employee was a small price to pay for such an opportunity. But there was something else in Zan's voice, something unspoken. It wasn't just about Linwen leaving quietly. No, he wanted her passion crushed, her spirit dimmed. That way she wouldn't just resign, she'd give up. Zhu's lips curved into a thin line. That he could do. Sir. His assistant called again. The updated performance data is ready. Would you like to review it? Zhu waved a hand impatiently. A basic spreadsheet and still full of errors. Fix it. If it's not corrected, don't bother thinking about a future in this industry. The gaming industry, at least within this country, was already a graveyard of broken dreams. Talent burned out, creativity smothered, profit ruled all. He would make sure Linwen saw it, let her see the long hours, the corporate politics, the pressure to prioritize monetization over artistry. Let her see how disposable employees were, how success often came at the cost of identity. Let her see the truth, and then let her walk away, willingly. It would be over before she even realized. Friday, December 27th. Luxury Hotel, Yang Changin, a sleek high-rise suite overlooking the city. Ma Yang leaned back on the plush couch, clearly exasperated. Hey, Bayan. I've been pretending I'm exhausted around the company just to keep up appearances. He sighed. I have to act like I don't even know you. Calling you CEO in front of everyone, it's exhausting. Bayan gave a soft chuckle and patted Ma Yang's back reassuringly. That's just the price we pay for strategy. You're my eyes and ears on the inside, he said. If anything happens, I need you to report it to me immediately. Ma Yang groaned. So I'm basically your undercover agent now? Bayan offered a small nod, eyes distant in thought. If word ever got out about his relationship with Ma Yang, it would be a problem, both for the company and for him personally. Ma Yang gave a crooked grin and continued. Feels like everyone's paying close attention to Tianhuo Company lately. They're pretty intimidating, Bayan shrugged. Who knows? But tomorrow's our first visit. Once we're there, keep your eyes open and ask questions. Don't let things get too quiet. Got it, Ma Yang said, grinning. Though if the CEO starts interrogating them, they might freak out. I'll play the friendly side. The next morning, arrival at Tianhuo Company. The Dingda team stood in silent awe as they stepped out of their vehicles and gazed at the towering headquarters. Before them. Whoa, someone whispered. This place must have cost a fortune. I heard they once gave out a full year's salary as a bonus, another added. And one time the top earner got a sports car. Inside the glass-paneled lobby, two bubbly receptionists were busy snapping selfies before returning to their desks. Bayan, meanwhile, quietly took in the opulence. Just building this space probably cost more than our yearly operating budget. His thoughts were interrupted as Secretary Tan appeared, accompanied by a man in a crisp white coat. CEO Bayan, she greeted. Welcome. Bayan tilted his head curiously. Who's that with you? Before Secretary Tan could answer, the man stepped forward with a dazzling smile. Hello, CEO Bayan. I'm Zunhuo, receptionist and liaison for today's visit. I'll be your guide. Bayan shook his hand politely. Thanks for your help. We'll be in your care. Inside Tianhuo Company headquarters, in another room of the building, CEO Zumo Yan was checking himself in a mirror, brushing a few stray hairs into place. They should be arriving any minute. Hopefully, this hairstyle holds. As the group entered, Zunhuo gestured toward the suited man with perfect posture. Yes, CEO Zumo. CEO Bayan from Dingda Company has arrived. The two executives met and shook hands with polite smiles. Let me show you around. This is our sound production wing, our main recording studio for voiceovers and effects. Over here is our training facility, where we hold game design workshops for interns. He kept the introductions flowing smoothly. These outfits were once worn by a celebrity for a promotional campaign. And this section is our leisure zone. Snacks and drinks are free. Feel free to help yourselves. Bayan's colleague, Coiny Bag, glanced around with narrowed eyes. One television, a basic gaming PC, a tiny couch, and a few snack bags? That's the leisure zone? This is way less impressive than our break room. A modest sign labeled refreshment area sat beside a table with some crackers and bottled tea. Coin tried not to scoff. They call this premium? It's miles behind what we offer. Still, he kept his thoughts to himself, letting the tour continue with polite nods and tight smiles. Director Zhu Moyan stood frozen in place like someone caught in the middle of a surreal dream. He had been eavesdropping from a short distance, but now he was completely dumbfounded. What on earth is going on with the people from DDA? He thought. Why aren't they reacting? He racked his brain, bewildered. His company boasted the most lavish VIP amenities in all of Yangchang. They had an entertainment room, a quiet zone for rest, a massive television, comfy, well, somewhat firm sofas, and a steady flow of snacks and beverages. The kind of place employees bragged about working in. How could anyone not be impressed? Into the thick silence, Ma Yang suddenly spoke up. Everyone, please take a look. This right here is our entertainment space. We've also got a rest area. That big screen over there? We've got maybe 3 or 4 just like it across the company. As for the couch, okay, it's a little stiff, but it gets the job done. Zimon and Zanui exchanged glances, beads of sweat forming on their foreheads. They wanted to disappear. Is he serious right now? They both knew the unspoken truth. Almost every domestic game company followed a very similar playbook. Heng Zinat gave a strained chuckle, trying to smooth things over. Well, it's not bad. This side of the office seems pretty decent. Mayang, still unfazed, added, honestly, by local standards, this place is more than generous. Think about it. So many of us are staying late to work overtime. The company must be spending a fortune just covering that. Zhu Moyan's face went rigid. Overtime pay? His mind stopped cold. Wait a minute. The gaming industry actually pays for overtime. Since when? I thought every company had the same policies. He stared at the group, completely at a loss for words. Were they all in on some kind of inside joke? Or had the entire world changed while he wasn't paying attention? Our Baikan grabbed Knave Mang's wrist with an irritated scowl. Leaning in, he hissed under his breath, "Stop pushing it. Just let things play out. Why are you always the one to ruin the mood? I came here today to make peace, not stir up more drama." Hangsba, scratching the back of his head awkwardly, tried to diffuse the tension. He's new to the industry. Please don't mind him. Zanhui gave a small, polite smile and nodded. Well then, shall we move on? We've arranged a sharing session. Please follow me. A short while later, Zanhui led the group along a narrow corridor in the workplace. The walkway was only about 3 tiles wide, a surprising contrast to what many had expected. One of the younger men, who wasn't wearing glasses, leaned close to the blonde-haired Hangsba and muttered, "This place feels so cramped, Hang." Zba laughed it off. "Ah, it's fine." Though in his mind he thought, it's not that Tianhu is small. Dangda's office is just too big. Nearby, Zhu Moan overheard the exchange and nearly did a double take. Is he serious? This is considered cramped? He wondered if most companies were like this, unsure whether to laugh or be concerned. Eventually, the group entered a spacious auditorium. Zan Hui took center stage and announced, "Now please welcome Huang Ziba, the head of the network technical planning team at Dangda Limited. He's here to share some insights on the success of Gujiang. A warm round of applause, please." The room erupted with enthusiastic clapping. Huang Ziba stepped forward, visibly hesitant at first. "Let me clarify something," he began. "I wasn't personally involved in the creation of Gujiang, but during my time at DDA Company, I devoted myself to studying the game thoroughly. I believe I've come to understand some of the artistic direction laid out by CEO Bai." He paused, collecting his thoughts. "In my opinion, the success of Gujiang boils down to 3 key elements. First, its commitment to high-quality gameplay and a bold artistic vision. CEO Bai invested nearly half of the project's funding into artistic resources alone. He even brought in new talent to introduce a fresh visual style that resonated deeply with players. That level of aesthetic risk takes serious vision. Second," he continued, "the monetization model. The game sells for just $40, unusually low for card-based titles. This accessible pricing strategy earned goodwill from the player community and boosted sales volume significantly. And third, their approach to marketing. Instead of splurging on massive campaigns, they redirected almost all funds into refining the game itself. With minimal but targeted advertising, Gujiang organically gained traction and crossed over from niche art circles to mainstream gaming." At that moment, Huang Ziba slammed his palm on the table with sudden intensity. "Honestly, this could serve as a textbook example of precisely tailored consumer marketing." Our Bian, watching from the side, smiled slightly. "Holy, that actually sounds brilliant. Why didn't I think of it that way back then?" Huang Zi, observing the reaction, chuckled to himself. He glanced toward CEO Bai, who nodded silently with a pleased smile. Looks like my interpretation of his original vision wasn't far off. Maybe I'm finally starting to catch up to his pace. Zanhui took the mic again. Thank you, Huangsba, for that insightful presentation. Next, we'll hear from CEO Zhu of Tianhu Company. As Zhu Moen approached the stage, he leaned toward our Baikan and murmured thoughtfully, pouring all resources into development, hiring untested artists, redefining the monetization model for an entire genre. That kind of boldness can only come from youth. CEO Bai may still be young, but he's already fearless. Stepping confidently onto the podium, Zhu Moen addressed the audience. At Tianhu, we're currently developing an FPS game titled Dantu. Our goal is to surpass the benchmark set by Fancong Jinhua. He spoke with conviction. The most critical feature of any FPS game is the feeling it delivers. Players of the genre are among the most demanding in the industry. That's why Dantu is engineered to recreate the tactile experience of Fancong Jinhua with up to 90% fidelity. But we're not stopping there, he added. We continue to innovate artistically, and we've even brought in military experts to evaluate our weapon and uniform designs for accuracy. Our aim is immersion, both visually and physically. At last, the strategic plan was revealed. The game would be released for free, bolstered by optional microtransactions, a bold attempt to dominate the FPS market and rake in impressive revenue numbers. Wanzhou, upon hearing this, was visibly taken aback. A quiet thought crossed his mind. Wait a minute. Why does Dan 2's release strategy sound exactly like what War of the Sea did? The similarity was uncanny. If this really was the handiwork of Fan Kong's old rival, Jaiho, then perhaps War of the Sea still had the upper hand. And if both titles were to go head-to-head, the outcome could be catastrophic for one of them. His train of thought was interrupted when he caught a glimpse of CEO Bai Kan standing calmly by the window, a bright, unbothered smile on his face. Why is he smiling like that? Wanzhou wondered. Could he have come all the way to Tianhu Corporation just to observe their game development strategy? Does he already know that Dan 2 is doomed to fail? The unsettling thought made his spine tingle. No wonder he's so calm. Only someone that confident in their outcome could afford to look so relaxed. In truth, Bai Kan was deep in thought himself. His internal assessment aligned perfectly with Xu Moyan's approach. If Dan 2 went head-to-head with War of the Sea, the result would be catastrophic for Dan 2. There was no doubt in his mind. A collision course was set, and Dan 2 wasn't going to survive it. Soon the two CEOs met at the center of the room for a customary handshake. Bai Kan was the first to speak, his tone warm and confident. Truly impressive. You're expanding your horizons. Judmone smiled politely. Oh, I wouldn't dare compare myself. CEO Bai, your natural talent and insight are something I deeply admire. I appreciate that. I have a few matters to take care of, Judmone added, taking a small step back. So I'll excuse myself for now. Please. Bai Kan nodded graciously. Don't let me keep you. Thank you for your time. As Bai Kan prepared to leave, a clear voice called out behind him. Excuse me, CEO Bai? Could I borrow a moment of your time? He turned to see a young woman approaching, her eyes sparkling with curiosity and charm. My name is Lin Wen, she said, extending a hand politely. Would you mind answering a few questions? Taken in by her bright demeanor, Bai Kan agreed with a soft smile. She got straight to the point. Isn't the main goal of making games to earn money? Bai Kan's expression remained calm as he replied, I believe the true purpose of a game is to bring joy to its players. Though outwardly composed, he added silently. Well, personally, I'm in it to lose money. It's just more fun that way. Lin Wen chuckled at his answer, but pressed on. So, your company doesn't have any employee screening policies? We don't, he replied without hesitation. Everyone here is like family. We grow together. Why would I get rid of anyone? Internally, though, he thought, if we ever had to fire anyone, it'd be the diligent ones. The lazy ones are just too endearing. Still smiling, Lin Wen leaned in with another question. Do your employees work overtime? Bai Kan blushed slightly. I try my best to send everyone home on time. But some choose to stay, and well, I pay them for the extra hours. She nodded, clearly amused. So, do you make games just to fulfill your dream of gaming? He laughed softly. No, it's mostly for the money. She giggled at his honesty. You're quite playful, CEO Bai, but if it were really about money, you could have just raised the subscription for Bujang tenfold. I think you're more of an idealist than you let on. Thanks for answering my questions, she said with a bow and a warm smile before turning to leave. As she walked away, Bai Kan stood there, puzzled, watching her silhouette fade down the hall. That's strange. Who is she? He wondered. The next morning at Tanhu Company, Arlen Wen stepped into the office holding a folder filled with documents. She approached the CEO, Zi Mo Yan, and handed them over. He glanced at the folder. What's this? I've made up my mind, she said, standing tall. I want to resign. Mo Yan raised an eyebrow, but kept his expression neutral. Inwardly, he exhaled in relief. Finally, he thought. She's realized how cutthroat the gaming world is, and decided to go back to her billionaire heiress life. Still, he kept his tone composed and indifferent. You're quitting the gaming industry? Arlen shook her head firmly. No. That answer caught him completely off guard. Wait, what? She's resigning but not leaving the industry? Then, does she hate working here? Confused, Mo Yan leaned forward. Why then? Is there something wrong here? Something that doesn't suit you? Arlen turned toward the window, her voice calm but resolute. Thank you, CEO Z, for your support. But I've realized this isn't the place where I can truly chase my dreams in game development. I need to find another path. Elsewhere on that same Thursday, January 7, 2010, at the headquarters of Dangda Company, CEO Bayan approached Wang Dabe, a developer with striking blonde hair. How's the progress on War of the Sea? He asked. Do we need to delay launch? Another week? Wang responded confidently. No need, CEO Bai. We've run it through multiple tests and squashed all the major bugs. We're ready for release. Despite Wang's confidence, Bayan couldn't shake a sense of unease. That confident. Can it really be finished? Is the quality there? But he masked his concern with a pleasant smile. Good, he said. Let me take a look at the storyline and legendary gear. Developer Kwang Ze immediately nodded. Of course, CEO Bai. I'll pull it up now. He loaded up the presentation. Here's the story. Players start at the lowest levels and fight their way to the top. The full campaign runs about 6 hours, focused on battling zombies and mercenaries, with a few light puzzle-solving segments. He flipped to another slide. And here are the legendary weapons. We're launching this month, as you requested. Permanent unlock price is $888. Bayan stared at the screen, stunned. What the? This looks way better than I expected. Who said it'd be this high quality? Then he remembered, oh right, I told them to buy premium assets. Guess it paid off. 1. Particular weapon caught his eye, the shimmering, legendary unicorn. Kwangze interrupted his thoughts. There are a few additional features still in the works. Would you like me to present those too? Bayan quickly raised a hand to stop him. No need. Just prepare everything and submit it to the accounting department for approval. As he left the room, he chuckled to himself. If only Danda 2 isn't out yet by the time we launch, we've got a real shot at the top. Otherwise, we're toast. Later, in the solitude of his office, Bayan opened the system dashboard. His current budget balance displayed clearly, $138,700. He scowled. That's down $361,500. I didn't expect spending money to be this hard. His mood soured. Fine. Let's burn more of it. Better to use it all up than leave any sitting idle. Without hesitation, he hit the intercom and called in his secretary, Tan. A graceful woman with a composed demeanor, she entered promptly. Bayan straightened his posture and issued his instructions. Schedule. A full team-building session for tomorrow afternoon. We'll celebrate the completion of War of the Sea. Movie, dinner, karaoke. Pull out all the stops. Tan blinked. Tomorrow afternoon? Isn't that Friday? He waved dismissively. So,
What?
if we use their leisure time for company bonding, no one's going to complain. Make it happen. Secretary Tam entered the room with a polite nod. Yes, CEO Bayan. However, there's one more matter to bring to your attention. Bayan glanced up from his desk. Go on. Do you recall our visit to T&H Company some time ago? There was a young woman, Linwen, who asked you a question during the meeting. He narrowed his eyes slightly. Linwen. Yes, I remember. What about her? She's currently in Jingo, Tam explained. She came to our headquarters today. She's expressed a strong desire to work for us, so strong, in fact, that she's offered to work without pay. She's waiting now in one of the smaller conference rooms. I greeted her just moments ago. Bayan leaned back in his chair, surprised. No salary? That sounds suspicious. I really dislike that kind of behavior. Then, as if an amusing thought had crossed his mind, he asked with a half smirk, What's your impression of her? Tam folded her hands thoughtfully. From what I can tell, she comes from a privileged background, probably a wealthy family. She presents herself well. No issues with her demeanor, though I worry she may be a little naive. Bayan chuckled, inwardly. A well-off young lady with little practical experience. That's exactly the kind of harmless employee he preferred. Someone eager, but not necessarily competent. A perfect fit for the kind of tasks he had in mind. All right then, he said, raising a hand as if to seal the deal. Let's bring her on board. Set her starting salary at $44,000 a month, just like we discussed previously. Make the arrangements. Give her whatever tasks she wants. As long as she's happy, that's all that matters. Meanwhile, Linwen sat nervously in the meeting room, her hands clutched together in her lap. She couldn't stop replaying her brief interaction with CEO Bayan in her mind. Had he remembered her? Would he accept her offer? Just then, Secretary Tam returned. Carrying a clipboard, she smiled and held it out. Congratulations, Linwen. CEO Bayan has approved your hiring. Once you sign this contract, you'll officially be part of Donga's team. Your starting salary will be $4,000 per month. Linwen's eyes lit up, her face glowing with excitement. Really? That's wonderful, thank you so much. Then, her excitement gave way to curiosity. May I ask, what exactly will my job be? Secretary Tan paused, unsure of how to phrase it. Your job tomorrow, she said at last, is to join the team for some bonding activities. There's a movie, dinner, and karaoke planned. Linwen blinked in disbelief, unsure whether to laugh or question the entire situation. This is part of my job? It all sounds so odd. It was Monday morning, January 11th. Huang Zeba, his distinctive blonde hair catching the morning light, approached Ba with an unexpected question. Hey, Mr. Ba, have you seen the download stats for War of the Sea? Ba looked visibly deflated. Yeah, not looking good. Pretty underwhelming, honestly. Friday came and went, Zeba said, rubbing the back of his neck. Then the weekend too. And now it's Monday, and we've barely cracked a few hundred downloads. He frowned. Do you think CEO Bai is intentionally avoiding any marketing? I checked. Everywhere. There's no promotion at all. Ba nodded calmly. CEO Bai hasn't told us to focus on marketing, so let's trust his judgment. If it's not a priority for him, we shouldn't stress over it. At that moment, WI pulled up a chair and chimed in. Makes sense. A mind like CEO Bai's wouldn't let something important slip by. He must have his reasons. Exactly, Ba replied. We should shift our focus now. What do you think we should plan for the next version? WI looked thoughtful. We need to outline the development goals early. Otherwise, we'll hit a wall later. But I'm not sure what we need to fix. Ziba nodded, still mulling it over. Honestly, I'm stuck between fixing bugs or adding new content. The game isn't crashing or anything. Even new players haven't reported major problems. And we've already packed in plenty of features. He continued, maybe we should bring in some experienced players, get solid feedback, and tweak things based on that. Ba looked intrigued. Sounds like a good plan. But how do we find those kinds of players now? And won't that cost money? Ziba scratched his head, clearly stumped. Yeah, that's the part I haven't figured out yet. Just then, a young man with glasses spoke up. Hey, Ziba, I could try reaching out to some gaming communities, maybe talk to an admin or two. Ziba let out a quiet laugh. You really think you can just stroll into someone else's gaming group and advertise our game? They'd kick you out before you say a word. The bespectacled man looked sheepish. Yeah, you're probably right. As the conversation reached a lull, Linwen sauntered over, her eyes gleaming with mischief. I might have a better idea, she said. I actually know a few FPS group admins with pretty large followings, over 1,000 members each. Ziba was surprised. You do? You really know that many admins? Of course I do, Linwen said with a wink. I'm on good terms with them. Ziba raised an eyebrow. But you never struck me as someone into FPS games. How did this happen? With a sly smile, Linwen explained. Back during my internship at T&H Company, the team behind the Dan 2 project needed a testing group of hardcore FPS players. I was in charge of coordinating with them. A short while later, in an apartment, elsewhere in the city, a young man in a black shirt and golden hair sat immersed in a round of CS:GO. His name was Chen Wu. Suddenly, a message popped up from Linwen. Chen Wu, I need a favor. Can you help test a new game? He replied quickly. I thought Dan 2 was already finished and launching. Is this some sort of post-release test? The tone shifted as if stepping into a courtroom drama. Linwen replied with dramatic flair. Nope, this isn't Dan 2. It's an entirely different game. Also, I've quit my job at T&H. Chen Wu was taken aback. You quit? Right after launch? I heard the dev team got huge bonuses. Was it not enough for you? Linwen shot her hand up eagerly. What's all the fuss about the bonus? It's not even that important. My current company is way stronger than T&H. She waved her hand dismissively. Anyway, let's not waste time on that. Can you help me test this game on the other server real quick? Chen Wu folded his arms, eyeing her suspiciously. Fine, but what's the rate? Is it the same as T&H? They paid $500 per test. Linwen let out a small giggle. Ah no, not quite, but you'll get the exclusive Shuo Xiying reward in-game once the test is done. Chen Wu scowled, clearly unimpressed. He clenched his fists and jabbed a finger toward her. So your new company's cheap too? You want my help but won't even pay me? You really think you can live the high life without putting in any effort? Linwen raised her hands defensively. No, it's not like that at all. I swear this company isn't stingy. She leaned in, lowering her voice slightly. Tell you what, besides the Shuo Xiying reward, I'll throw in a lifetime use legendary weapon. That's gotta count for something, right? Chen Wu's expression darkened. He scoffed loudly, throwing his hands up. A legendary weapon? Seriously? Are you kidding me? Who even wants that junk from that game? What's that worth anyway? Like $100? Maybe $2? Linwen scratched her chin thoughtfully. Actually, from what I've seen, lifetime use. Legendary weapons are selling for $888. Chen Wu nearly choked on his drink, spewing soda across the table. What are you saying? $888 in-game currency or real cash? Real money, of course, Linwen replied casually. Chen Wu stared at his screen in disbelief,